left Daggerford, headed for Cormier. We stopped by Liam's Hold. Kino got the date, which was the 5th of Uktar, and she inquired about when the winter solstice was, and we found out it only happened on a leap year. We sent a sending to brother, and he said, in which we said, we asked about where he was in Cormier. He should not move, and we asked about his location. He said he was in Arabelle, to travel by shadow and be discreet and careful. He then replied to us and said, 1 week Arabelle, 1 week in Sicile, and be careful who you ask. Find the Steel Inquisitor. We then passed Bowshot, past the Misty Forest, and heard that there were purple lights in the sky at night over Liam's Hold the night we stayed. We continued our journey to Cormier. We stopped by the weigh-in. Honoree bought ink and paper. We sold a couple of our magic weapons, and then we spent the night. The next day, we traveled past Dragonspear Castle, where we saw a giant draconic skeleton nestled in the ruins. We then messaged Abel and said, we are safely on our way to Arabelle in Cormier. We traveled through Liam's Hold and the way-in. How are you? Abel spent some time exploring the orrery, discovered a teleportation item that works as a round trip but siphons some of the user's life energy. He said that things were going good and then managed to use the item to use the timepiece to teleport to us. Henri then messaged Valin on the second night, asking, I hope you're okay. Sorry for leaving. How are you? She replied to it, you've caused an entirely large mess up here. Still dealing with it, thanks again. She tried to get more information, but she would not give it to us. The session ended with us reaching the Borskire Bridge, and that's when Abel teleported to us. The timepiece malfunctioned and threw him 300 feet over us instead of his targeted 50. He cast Featherfall on himself and safely landed next to us as we prepared ourselves for the rest of the day's travel.
Thanks, Tyler. Awesome. Hey, Gren, do you happen to remember at all what the name of your board was for your town? I had like a mini heart attack because I can't find it. But
Open Tailspire and look.
yeah, yeah, it's just I just need the name.
It
If
should
you
still be in my it should still be in my saved
Yeah.
sessions, right?
Yeah, it should be.
Give me a minute, my computer's slow.
This is so strange. Yeah, I literally just went through like everything. What is going on right now? Sorry guys, just give me 1 second. As Grin saw, it would take a little bit of time to piece that back together again. It was a little decently large, so but
It's a huge map.
Oh, what is going on right now? Let's see. It's very possible. I have several campaign boards, so like I have actually several overworlds, so that is getting a little complicated. I'm gonna have to organize this a little better, I think. But let's see.
I have an overworld and an overworld 2.
Right, and right. So when you're looking though, does it tell you which one, or is there a way to see the board that you were last in to see where what it's called?
I think Overworld is the one Group B was in.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not. There's more than 2 overworlds. There's, um, more than 100 of those, but
I was
at
in.
least, yep,
Sorry, I was in Icewind Dale last Sunday.
yep. It doesn't show you anything else. I
I
do
was
have
in.
a I do have a backup, but it's not the same. So yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. Both overworlds show that I played today, which is not true. I just loaded the game up.
Okay. Yeah, I have a bad feeling that Tailspire did something.
Hold on, I might still have the game code that you DM'd me. I can try and use that to join it
Yeah,
again.
it might work. It might work. Let's see. Fortis Island, work in progress. Forest Swallows, Old Mars, Northern Northland. Yeah, it's like looking like it's gone, but hold on.
Yeah, no, it says the invite code is invalid.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I'm gonna try one more thing here. Yeah, I mean these are so massive because I'm actually taking in multiple assets and putting them in. It's not all my work either, but I was smart enough to create a backup. I think it's because I have so many things like total that it can just I don't trust anything in Tailspire right now, so I just use the slab codes. But hold on. Wow. Okay. Sorry, guys. Just give me 1 second.
Mhm.
This might be like critically important for this session, so we will see.
I do think it's Overworld 2. Or no, maybe that was no, because I've never joined the Group B's Tailspire. But you can have how you can have more than one map in one game? I think it's in there somewhere.
According to me, it said the last one I was in was the one I was in Group B.
In Overworld 2, there's a map called Hamlet. Is that it? Oh, Chris, try Overworld 2 and then board Unknown Realm 4. Hello? Yeah, I can't actually explore the map because it says waiting on GM, but I think this is it.
It is 15 minutes in.
All right. Sorry, guys. That was scary. It's all good. It's it affected way more than just one board, but it's all fixed. Okay.
Is it Overworld 2 Unknown Realm 4?
Mm, it could have been on. It could have been Unknown Realm 4. I didn't try to. I just got my backup, but I was actually more concerned because there was a core issue with why it vanished from my list, which would have destroyed, I don't know, like 700 boards, but it's all good. But I have a backup anyway, again, so it's all good. All right, so
Okay.
we can start. So, hold on. Does everyone have concept board up too?
Yep.
I don't, but I will.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, no worries. All right. So, if you remember, so yeah, let's literally start right where Abel teleported in on that bridge to go through things. Abel, you've just met up with the party.
Yeah, I found some really useful stuff. It's a little complex in using, but it's got some upsides and downsides that I think it could be useful to us in general. As far as accessing the orrery, we can jump. I don't quite know the exact term. It's not teleporting. It's a little different. From when he pulls out, the device Chris.
Yeah. So it's tunneling, by the way. So this would allow you to tunnel through reality, which is why you can get through the force field. You're not actually teleporting in.
Device. I forgot the description. It's fairly large, though. Correct? It's like a tripod setup or something.
Yeah. So what it is it's a device that has what looks like a green kind of like lantern that Abel has affixed this to. Um, lantern itself is like in standard, very functional but still complicated and ornate. There is a green fire that basically flickers and goes up and down throughout the entire lantern side. And then, yes, there's a tripod that he's built in that has 3 different legs that can basically affix itself permanently into a location. So that's on one side. So Abel, I assume what you've already done, that's already been affixed to the location where the aura is at.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
For now. And then, Abel, what you also have is a pendant, but there's no string to it or anything. It looks like a little, almost like metallic medallion that's in the shape of like a rectangle. Inside of it is another vial with that same fire that's flickering up and down, and that's the object that you would theoretically give to someone else.
He punches into his tool, and a minor image of what it looks like back at the orrery shows up. It's like kind of like a little bit of a hologram. And he shows you that this pendant gets worn by someone, and it ties in basically a bridge portal, however you wish to characterize it. It's tunneling
and you do
between those
explain
locations.
the important things that you explain to them too is that first and foremost, there are 2 ways to use this item. Unfortunately, it cannot be you, but someone within the party needs to either decide that they're going to have this item, which does not require 2 minutes, it takes 15 minutes to spin up, and then you can use it once per day. Or they can attune to it. But once they attune to it, the device unfortunately does have to feed into your literal essence. It's not just your what we would know as DNA today, but it's also your magical signature. So your magical essence, which is why it takes away 5 hit points as long as you have the item attuned to you. However, it does allow you to use it twice per day, and it's only a minute spin up. So even though it's still, you know, dicey when it comes to combat, 15 minutes is impossible. 1 minute is doable, and it would be theoretically once it's spun up and ready to go. After that minute, you can leave and go through and like go to thing. Unfortunately, it's not something that you can like spin up ahead of time and leave charged for now. Able, you're working on that. You just haven't figured out how to do that safely. Right now, you could do it, but then they'd have to. So you'll see once this all progresses. Abel's going to be able to do some improvisation, improvised things to like basically get stuff going, but they're always going to be hyper dangerous. And what's you'll find by next session, this session or something, Abel, is that you could actually try to enact that right now. Like actually get it to where someone can charge this ahead of time, meaning they have to take like 15 minutes ahead of time, and then it charges for 3 hours, and then for 3 hours they actually have a get out of jail free card instantly. The problem is if they do it without you finishing the device, if there's a mishap, it's a shitty one, really shitty. Like, and they sprawl their missing pieces all over Faerun. So, but there will be options where you can like skip ahead and then explain that to people, like, hey, I did this. It's not perfect. It might come in handy, but it's super dangerous still. You know, stuff like that. But anyway, so he explained all this to you guys.
There's other functions that I haven't fully explored how they work that might be more dangerous, but these things I'm here should be able to use with minor risks. I mean, other than that it kind of like plugs in here and here, and it's a little uncomfortable and pulls at your. I guess whoever would wear it would be a little weaker.
Now, the other awesome thing for Abel is that once someone else takes it, this is what's going to allow Abel to move back and forth freely. That's what you're trying to convey to them. If they take the 15-minute one, you unfortunately don't get that benefit. But if they take the one that can actually attach to them, Abel, you are then able to go back and forth between your aura really freely.
It's not me, it's someone from the lantern to the pendant, right?
Someone to the lantern to the pendant. However, once they've made that sacrifice, you yourself can actually go back and forth freely. You don't know how many times, but you know at least per day 10 safely.
You're saying me, myself, as someone who understands it, or there's something particular about me that can do it?
It's something particular about you that you have affixed to the aura itself that will actually allow you to go back and forth between this tunnel.
Okay.
You can use this tunnel while someone else is affixed to it. If they don't attune to it and they don't take their life essence to it, no, then you're with everybody else. But if they do, if someone's willing to do that, you can actually go back and forth freely, which certainly has its advantages to the whole party. But you only know for sure that you can do it 10 times a day for really, really well. You've never tested this otherwise. You've never pushed it because you know how dangerous these things are. But at least 10 times a day, you'll be able to go back and forth freely instantly.
So my calculations say 10 times should work. I can't imagine really needing to do a lot more than that. It seems like, I don't know what we'd be ferrying across at that many times, but it does open up these possibilities. Would allow me to study there, but someone.
Yeah. And by the way, those charge ups are for the whole group. The 15 minutes, whoever has that on them, they can help the whole group escape. So 1 minute, 15 minutes, like let's say that it's Kino. If Kino, you guys are in a terrible battle. This is like, by the way, the most exploitive way. There's plenty of other ways that are not exploitive, but this would be the most hardcore exploitive way to use an item like this. You're in a battle, you cannot win. So for a minute, but everyone's going to die. For a minute, you kite or do whatever you need to do to get it, or hide or whatever. Once that minute's over, you take the whole party with you, kind of thing.
I don't know who's able to attune things, or even if anyone would be interested in it. Certainly, Grin is very hardy, and I think most of us would trust his interest in looking out for us and getting us safely out of a situation. But it is not a choice of mine to make.
I would take it. I am full up on attunement slots. I would say I would probably favor Henri a little more than Grin just because I don't see Grin backing away from too many fights.
Yeah, if it
That's
came down
true.
to it, if it came down to it, I would rather you guys have a way out. You know.
But you guys can decide like any teleport to not take it. But yeah. But Grin, you could teleport and then decide yourself you're not going to take it. You could open the tunnel and they'll all get sucked through, and you decide you're going to resist it. And by the way, in resisting in that respect, you don't have to worry about a roll or anything. It is team based.
Okay. Okay, I was confused on how it worked a little bit, but that's okay. No, it probably should go to Henri. I mean, Grin doesn't fully understand magical items in general.
Mhm.
Henri has the intelligence to use it properly.
Yep. I mean, like I said, it's pretty uncomfortable to irritating. So I just wasn't certain if you were able to endure that.
Yeah. As you guys start to use
I
this,
didn't
item,
mean it that way. You're delicate.
As you guys do start to use this item though, and Abel starts to learn more to make it a better understanding, because I don't have art for this yet. It is essentially there's actually no art for this at all, but it is a very famous thing within Mordecanian's like time period. This is allowing you to manipulate the slipstream, which is the same thing that all the planar campaigns, Planescape, everything is built on this when you're traveling through realms. What's going to end up happening is that once you activate the device, it actually has tethers on each person. Like the person, a lot of times like it was the leader, but it doesn't have to be the leader, obviously. Basically, once you attune to this item, it once you start fighting and stuff, it actually creates that bond. That's how you're getting all the slipstreams tied to you. And then this is anchored to that lantern. What'll end up happening is whoever takes the item is going to attune to it if they take their life force in, and then that's part of why it needs your life force. It knows who's with your party, and there's literally this invisible tether always tied to you that literally slips you back in to the tunnel, and which is why you're able to resist it. You actually get the chance, and this is going all the way back from like the 70s. You get the chance to not take it if you don't want to, and then this inevitably does allow you to have a get out of jail free card, but it's situational because a minute is forever in combat. That's many rounds. So.
If you, I'd certainly trust you. I mean, I guess we could also pay some guy that we trust to hang around with us, and
Who do we trust?
that's true.
No one.
We don't even trust everyone here right now.
Sure we do. I trust you, Grin.
So yeah,
Anyway.
this is how it works.
All right, Henri. So you take the pendant, mess with it for 15 minutes and figure this out, but Abel's obviously able to kind of explain this too, since he's messed around with it himself. And you guys notice that Henri puts it on her shoulder, and it moves all the way down her arm. And then Henri, yeah, it rips into your body in like searing pain, and affixes itself to you. You kind of expected this, but it hurts a lot more than you expected. that's where not only the HP is coming from, but also there's like a constant kind of dull pain around this area as well. You'll get used to it over time. And sure enough, you see the fire going through the vial, the green fire, and it starts to get brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter. And eventually you realize that this is ready to go. Now, it does have a
Yeah.
little open bracket, Abel, where you're able to work on this actively. So you will be able to improve this over time.
Okay. If you notice any discomfort, weird manifestations from the device, please let me know. I'll take notes on it and try to figure out exactly what's going on with it. Or if maybe you can figure it out yourself too. Yeah.
Correct. You can touch
From
that.
there. From there. The lantern, right?
From wherever that lantern is placed, which is why it's so powerful, because it can literally get through impassable barriers. Yep.
Yeah, so this'll pop us back and forth to the orrery. We could set that up elsewhere. Right now it'll pop us in through that safety shield, assuming it's up.
Yep. Which it was when you were last there. Yeah.
Really didn't mess with making a lot of noise up around where the dragon would hear, but I didn't see much of it. I, didn't want to stir that hornet's nest.
Probably for the best.
I thought so.
We told Abel about everything that happened during the dragon encounter, right? Because we went back to him before we left.
Out of character, if you're talking about the crystal dragon, I'm pretty sure Abel was with you. He was just at the docks.
No, he stayed inside while we went to talk to Crystal Dragon, but we did tell him what happened.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's what you meant? I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
On their way out, yeah.
Yeah, he heard everything on the way out.
Right. So, one of the things to note, considering that you guys are now standing on the bridge, is that, oops, let me load it in real quick. Sorry for the background music, guys. Yep. Okay. All right. So Abel, you start to see your surroundings a little better as well. This is a massive bridge. It's around 5 miles all the way around, so it's incredibly massive. Matter of fact,
Wow.
it's a feat of engineering. It's one of the largest bridges in Faerun. It also has carved animals, completely carved out animals on the sides of it. There are also statues of other animals carved through it. Um, uh, it's a pretty significantly large place. On top of that, though, there are small cracks and other points of damage where it looks like maybe potentially invaders or other beings have tried to take this bridge down. There is what looks like it's not a body of water underneath you. It's actually a large pit where, again, it looks like people have put like stones and other things like in the section that you're in. But then you notice that as it goes out, maybe less than a mile in, there's a very large body of water that does actually traverse this area. There are two statues on each end, though, that are the largest. These statues are around 60 feet tall on both sides. One on the southern side, the side that you guys are not on, is a large knight with a sword hanging down. The other one closest to where you are, is a cloaked, what looks like maybe magician or mage or something, with his hands outreached.
I'd seen many drawings of this. It's impressive to be near to think about what it would take to construct this.
Hey Chris, what time of day is it right now?
That's a good question. So it's around 6:30. The sun is starting to set just a little bit.
Well, we should definitely camp on the other side of this bridge.
Yeah, let's see if we can make it across before it gets too late.
You guys remember what I said last time about the bridge? If not, it's fine. If someone wants to make another history check or whatever, we can go through this. We did explain this in the last session, but I'm sure people forgot. It's relatively important if someone does anything like decides to go dipping in the water. Yep. So 19. Was that the highest?
One sec. I
do we
didn't
wanna
have my
hit
There,
the
there are
credits
water
here.
two
again?
very famous things that happen on this bridge. One at sunset, and then that's right. That's exactly right. So the water is going to turn red at sunset. No one knows why. The other thing is that the water, 19 is high enough. The water is cursed. So people believe that this was because this is this somewhere on this bridge, either in the water, on the bridge itself, it's been lots of time, Cyric was destroyed. So Cyric and Ball fought here. He was killed here. And so people think it's cursed. And what they'll do, if like if somebody is like in so much trouble that they're like done with or whatever, there's a very popular saying that it's like, oh, just go and drink from the west side of the bridge, or go and drink from the, Borsky Bridge. And because it's like the worst thing that anyone could possibly do, and no one really knows what's going to happen, so you might as well do that before you die. It's that famous and that kind of thing. So something terribly bad happened here. It is a crazy, also large bridge. The rumor was this was created by a hero, an adventurer, which you guys got a little bit of as well last time. But no one knows how. As a matter of fact, it would have taken a team of thousands of people, what, 20 years, maybe more than that, to build this, and it just kind of like that. How it was built was also lost to history. So anyway, so the bridge is pretty significant.
How high up over the water is the bridge?
That's a great question. So how high is the water from the edge of the bridge? It's far.
Yeah, like if I'm looking down over
You
the edge of
can't.
the
You
bridge.
can't. Yeah, yeah. So it's like it's another 60 to 80 feet. You're not exactly sure, but it's not something where you can just like go over the side and drink from it. It's just a saying. Like you'd literally have to have a string with like a thing or whatever. And by the way, this bridge is pretty massive. You could fall off it as well. Not many people actually have gone in this water. It's such a famous tale that first of all, you'd have to be pushed over or be really dumb or really drunk or something, because the bridge is so massive. So there haven't been a ton of accidents. Also, there have been a couple suicides, but they've been suicides. So no one really knows like if someone's dead, like what really happened to them or whatever. Other than that though, as far as like you guys remembering anyone ever actually doing this, no. And sure enough, as we're going through this, it is starting to hit sunset, and sure enough, as the sun's going down, the orange sky goes over, and then yes, the water turns blood red, and it cannot just be a reflection from the sun. The water is literally blood red. This is some kind of magical effect, because it's not just the sun like hitting it. This is just blood red water at this point.
All right, Abel has to be like skeptical and trying to figure out what the trick is here.
Yep.
This is obviously magic simple, but I mean, there's more going on here than it should be. It's not just a simple illusion. Can I roll like an Arcana check to? I don't know.
Yeah, of course. No, of course you can. Yeah.
I don't know what he'd
You can
actually
roll an
find.
Arcana check, but you're only doing this at perception. So remember, it's an Arcana check with disadvantage because you can't get up close and personal to it. If you can find a way to get up close and personal to it safely, then you can roll a normal Arcana check.
Okay, so that's the low roll was an 11 plus what was his D4? They're not showing up. Plus the D4. The lower one, 2, 13. Yeah, he didn't figure shit out.
You need to get a closer look. Not only that, you would need to have you need to do real experimentation to figure out what the hell this is. But it does give you pause. Like, yeah, okay, there's definitely something to these rumors.
I mean, not right now, but I definitely want to swim around in there and figure it out at some point.
Literally?
Oh, yeah, it's water, right? I think. There's supposed to be some nasty stuff in there, but where isn't there? Right?
I mean, I would never disagree with you on magic stuff, obviously, but it doesn't seem like a good idea to swim in it.
Not gonna go right now. Sometime when things calm down and I have more time on my hands to.
When things calm down, he says.
Will,
Maybe.
right?
When things calm down, you can swim in the water. How about that?
As you guys look down the road, because this is a 5-mile bridge and you can't even really see the end, although you do see the statue that ends it. Another thing that you start to realize is that there are actually structures on this bridge. They're small, but they're real in the sense that they're like people have actually decided to basically make their residence on the bridge itself. Looks like probably a couple of inns, maybe trader straw. You're not sure though. But as you guys go through and start to walk past this bridge, you're going to see that there's 2 inns that you can stay at. Each of these inns are pretty small. They only have 2 rooms, and yes, they're going to be expensive because it looks like they're set up specifically to gouge travelers, adventurers, all that stuff. And then there is a stall, but it only has provisional goods, meaning it only has mundane goods. It does have adventuring gear though on the mundane side as well. Then it has provisions like food and other things. All of it's overpriced, but
Well, I'm all right. I don't know if anyone else is.
I'd rather get to the other side before we take a rest.
Yep. No one's ever seen anything like this. So no one's seen a small little makeshift town on a bridge before, and that's the only thing you really note of it. They're all stone structures, as if they were built into the bridge itself, but all pretty neat.
Seems sturdily made.
Yeah, and the fact that there's a makeshift town on this bridge that's surviving is kind of crazy. Because as you start to walk past and look at it, you notice there are other small little structures like houses. There probably are 40 to 50 people that literally live on this bridge. There is also what looks like a church. However, when you walk past it, it looks like it's seen better days and it's not being used currently. The door of the church is actually actually not functioning currently, and I assume someone's going to eventually want to look inside of it. You don't have to do an investigation check or anything. It's been cleaned out. There's no holy symbol of who was in there, and the pews are all broken and everything. It's seen better days. The church itself was only around 500 square feet, though.
Does it seem like anyone's taking much notice of us or watching us or even
That's a
following
good
us?
question. As you start to walk through, you notice that because it's getting dark, there are lights on the insides of the houses. People are most certainly watching you, but no one's making any kind of no one's making any kind of threatening advances, and no one's come out to say hi or anything either. So
I wave at them.
Green.
yeah, as you go through, by the way, the way these are built, it's almost like they're built to be defensible. These homes, they only have small slits, kind of like arrow slits in them, but you can't. They're so narrow that you can't see who's really looking out, especially since they're lit from behind. That said, yeah, that's you just wave at the slits. Yep.
Let's make ourselves scarce. I want to get to the other side.
Mhm.
Yeah, it just takes a couple hours. So if you guys trudge through, what's the plan though? Because it is getting late. Do you guys want to travel through the night? Remember,
I mean, I'm fine with that. Um,
How about if we venture like another hour or however many hours it takes to get to the other side, and
Yeah.
we do a tiny hut and then just camp on the opposite embankment.
yeah, you can get to the other side by 10:30 at night, and then just set up a tiny hut and get a full night's rest.
I mean, I imagine for the miles, it's pretty good, fast travel. As a bridge.
It is. Yeah, no, it's easy. It's definitely easy travel. Yep.
Oh, and Abel, we have a cart now. I don't know if we ever mentioned that.
I
Cart and
saw
2
that.
horses.
It's very nice.
Which one of us
I
is
have-
driving?
Now, a couple things of note as well. So if you guys are facing going to Soybar on that side, you'll notice that on your right hand side are these large mountainous, like basically rocky structures that basically jut up into the sky. They're all very sharp. Um, and there is what looks like a stream that runs through that. You can even see it from the bridge itself, because you'll notice that as you start to like basically walk over that body of water, once you start looking out into the distance, that's where you see these things. That's the troll claws on the map. And then when you look on the other side of you, sure enough, the river does go for what looks like miles in the other direction as well. The only thing that you do notice while you're watching the bridge, and you can see it from here, is there is a very large forest with very tall trees. That's in front of you across from Sobar, and that's the forest of the worms.
Well, I think probably after we pass the central city and we start talking about we're going to camp at the other side, I'm going to pull out Unit 7472 and ask him if he knows anything about the hazards for travelers and camping
In this
at
general
the
area.
Sobel
Yep.
end of the bridge.
Yep. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. You can roll. You can do, in this case, you can do a history check and roll with advantage.
Okay. Thing. 26.
Okay. So in all of like the historic journals, logs, everything else, yes, there are certainly mentions on this side of the bridge of merchant caravans, especially where you're at, getting attacked by trolls and other things. But none of them mention tiny huts or anything like that. You'd probably be safe inside of one. The other thing that's mentioned though is that there have been at least 9 not famous but well documented cases of wealthy merchants disappearing completely and along this stretch of road of like 30-40 miles all the way to that's going to go past Sobar, but certainly on the way to Sobar. So you're in a semi-dangerous area, but again, you're not so sure how that affects you with tiny hut, so
We wealthy?
you would be considered wealthy.
I'm asking the group. Yeah, just are we wealthy?
I mean, I'm a noble.
We have more money than I've ever seen before I joined the party.
I think we have more money than some towns do.
Okay. We
I
should
say
be
quietly.
careful. Probably some sort of bandits or something.
We can. I think we're pretty strong.
Oh no, I agree. I just
Yep.
I
Bandits
would
are the
love to
least
see
of our
them
worries.
try.
Someone do a history check for me on the town you're coming into, Sobar. Everyone can do this.
23.
20.
Okay, Abel and Kino, do you remember something? Kino, you remember this from coming through as well. Sobar is a lawless city of thieves and basically like people who want to get away from. It's worse than Luskin. There is no law in Sobar. It's a smaller village. Yeah, it's a smaller village. and it actually exists because there is no law. So it used to be a very,
No
as
law.
you guys would have like imagined, a Puritan based on our world, but a very, very religious,
Mhm.
very conservative Puritan based kind of area that was basically filtered on like hard work and a bunch of like good deeds that all came crashing down like over 150 200 years ago when the orcs came through. So Sobar at this point has no formal government at all. It's led to a lawless culture full of brigands, ruffians, all kinds of things. um, for whatever reason, it is actually pretty popular in the traveling nomadic barbarian tribes there, just because of the fact that they have an ale that's particularly strong there that they've actually created and are kind of famous for. It's expensive, but it gets you drunk with very little. So even though it's expensive, it's for, in some ways cheaper to like get just a cup of this and not have to drink throughout the night. It's pretty strong stuff. This is also a rite of passage for some of the nobles traveling through as well. Like if they can survive a night in Sobar and get drunk off their ale, it's that kind of place as well. But that said, it is truly lawless. There have been many, many times that the town itself has gone just around the border of the Lord's lands coming through and wiping it out. And they are careful to, like, for instance, not murder sons of nobility, stuff like that, because they don't want their town to get completely taken away. But
Who would
all
do
kinds
that?
of exactly, but all kinds of things have happened in this town, and there is no formal government.
Usually Mos Eisley.
Right.
Yay.
Ooh. Should we go get drinks?
I wonder if they have chocolate milk.
I want one of those ales. Grin, fancy an ale.
You
No,
should be
no,
careful while
stay
you're there.
together. I'll say you're on the cart. You're fast walking ahead of the horses. I'm imagining I'm sitting up on the. I'm imagining I'm sitting up in the front next to Grin.
I feel like Orion is driving.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, and then I'm
Yeah,
sitting
he
next to
said you
Orion.
said he was. Yep. Making sure the horses are properly cared for. Yep.
I imagine that Abel is just like randomly mending things, like while he's sitting on the cart, like noticing little things that are like worn or whatever, and it's like,
Yeah.
yep.
I'm just gonna have answer out. I'm just gonna be kind of sharpening it. Just kind of telepathically talking to it, seeing how it is.
Yep. I'll let you know once you can get a response from it. But you would also know that Sovar is a great place to take a sword like that out of. So, yep.
I'm gonna put it away once we get past the bridge.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't be brandishing this. I'm just killing time.
Yep. Oh yeah, no, I'm sorry, I meant to. That's fine. Hold on. Well, that's fine. We'll keep going, and I'll pull them up from my notes.
I think Abel's also probably going through. Oh, and another thing, like about how, like intricate workings of the device that are probably pretty arcane, and just trying to pass on everything he learned excitedly. But I don't know how much you guys would really care about it.
Grin is listening like, yeah, uh-huh. Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
I'm gonna like look to the back of the cart and I'm gonna ask Henri, how many settings do you have left for the day?
Make sure I haven't sent you that one. I don't think I have, but just make sure, Henri. But that's the next one up. Cool. Yep.
Did you maybe before we hunker down for the night, try and get a touch base with maybe like Artemis? Let him know that we're just traveling, we're all right. Ask him how he's doing. Um, I don't know what he'd be up to. Oh, you know what'd be another we should actually. Should we message Macretus instead? I think up north and in what it's up to you. Sounds good.
That is correct. Yeah. I'm just trying to get your other video, Henri, real quick. I found it. I found it. Yep. All right. Cool. Yeah, you would get both. So I haven't given you. I was supposed to give you another one earlier anyway, so I'm just catching up. But, yep. All right. So yes, right. So you guys would definitely get to the end of the bridge through there, and then it's going to be around 10:30, and then you just have to make a decision. Now Sobar is still 15 miles from you, so that's going to be a bit of a trek if you want to start pushing yourself. But you're just going to need to like basically camp some point after midnight, as long as you're not pushing. If you're pushing, or pushing the animals, I should say, if you want to do that, you can. You can also just not sleep, and that would just give you guys a point of exhaustion.
Yeah.
Yeah, Orion's made it clear he does not want to push the horses. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so we bumped him down. Probably, yeah. If we're this close to a town of thieves and
Lawless town where bandits rob the
Yeah.
wealthy. Yeah.
Yeah, around 15 miles. Yeah, you're 15 miles currently from the town. That's right. Yep.
I'll take first watch.
I'll be awake during first watch as well, just because of my meditation.
Mhm.
Uh,
Wake me when you need me to.
And we're tiny hutting and all that.
yeah, Macretus about the what's happening in Waterdeep and what's happening in Icewind Dale. Yeah.
Okay.
And also ask about what's happening up north, specifically with the rail.
She did. She did.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So it takes a couple minutes, but Mercuritus will be able to respond to you to say that uh I'm not exactly sure what you guys did, but things are worse in the north. However, I'm just counting my words. Hold on. However, things are bad in Waterdeep with body doubles. Um, we'll get back soon. Will get back soon. Will get back soon. Meaning he will get back to you soon.
Oh.
Did he say where he was?
He didn't.
I wonder.
Okay. Well, thank you, Henri. Yep, I'm
Yeah.
on first. Grin's on first, and then me and Grin. Yeah, I think we should do 2 shifts of 2. How many shifts is it normally per long rest? Is it 2? Or is it 3?
Sorry. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Sorry, give me 1 second. I have a ton of like Tailspire nonsense in my. Sorry about that. What was the question? How many? Was that a question about the watches with?
Yeah.
Well, so everyone just needs to be able to get their 8 hours worth of sleep. That's uninterrupted for a long rest, right? So, what that means is that well, unless you have something special, exactly. Unless you have something special where you only have to go through it. So it depends on how much rest you get, essentially. So, uh, so for instance, you have it's 12 o'clock at night, and let's say that you guys want to rest until 12. That gives you 12 hours. Kind of go through and shift that around, and then there's like Kino who only needs 4.
I'll be available for 4 of those hours.
Right. You can overlap with Kino and go through it, but it's not a set number. It's literally what you guys can juggle around.
Mhm.
Everyone, just remember, everyone needs their 8 hours. You can juggle this till whenever. It just depends on how long you want to kill the day, essentially. Everyone
So,
needs their uninterrupted 8 hours unless they need less for whatever reason. Yeah.
so we need to get 28 hours of rest
Right.
total.
Which can happen. Right. Which can happen in tandem. Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll take first watch. Kino, do your 4 hours, and then when you wake up, I'll go down. So you take second watch.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you remember, not everyone needs to do watch it. Like the way that it works, because it depends on how many hours you sleep. Not everyone has to do a watch, obviously. You just need to cover those 3, like you just need to cover the time period that you're watching. So
I think if Kono starts with any one of us, and then 4 hours in, you can go and take her and rest, and we'll swap in the next round when she gets back up, and the others get up and see who's there.
Sure.
Okay, sounds good.
Just tap someone in when you need your rest. And that makes like kind of 4-hour overlap, so that should work out.
All right. So I'm just going to sit down with the scrapbook.
all right, cool. All right. So I mean, so the good news is, as long as you guys are within the tiny hut, the only thing that you're going to notice is that on second watch, which is around, because Kino's taking it, around 4 hours. So around like 2, 3 a.m. Kino, you notice that there are actually some shady looking characters, meaning that they have torches, but the torches are actually and you're not sure how they're doing this, but the torches themselves are very lowly lit, which means they're either modified to basically not put out a bunch of light, which means they have some kind of structure on top or something. There are also people that are completely covered head to toe in what looks like wrappings and other things that are made to make themselves look darker. Looks like bandits to you. There's at least 4 of them that you can see. They have not even noticed like you inside the tiny hut though. They haven't noticed the tiny hut at all.
For a second, I look down at my book, but then I just kind of put my hand over it and I go back to the scrapbook.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, other than that, everyone can sleep pretty safely tonight. With tiny hut, they're not going to bother you. So. All right. So you guys
Yeah.
wake up the next morning. With everyone taking their 8 hours, you guys are waking up. Sometime around like 11 o'clock, I assume. So.
Sounds about right.
Okay, everyone, get your stuff. We're gonna start heading out again.
I'll let everyone know that I saw bandits. They paid us no mind because we were in a tiny hut.
Mm-hmm. You noticed something? Did
Yeah,
they have?
they had lowly lit torches. Other than that, it seemed to be a group of raiders or something. There wasn't an issue.
Okay. Hopefully they're up to no mischief ahead.
Did I see which way they were going? Were they headed away from Sobar or towards Sobar?
Towards Sobar. They were heading out towards Sobar in this case.
Were they on horseback?
Nope. No.
Okay.
And you're not even sure where they came from because they just visualized on the road. It doesn't mean that they were necessarily like even from the bridge. They could have been behind you when you just, noticed them from where the bridge was. You did not see them enter from the bridge, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so we're gonna stop at Subar, because you guys want to drink.
I think that might be a bad idea.
Oh, really?
I mean,
Not many of us are really suited towards the outlaw lifestyle. It might be unwarranted trouble that we want to deal with at the minute.
I know, but I mean, I don't really like,
You
bars
also
and
said
stuff.
you were like on a timetable and stuff with your friend there.
Yeah, I suppose you're right.
Sometimes it is a good idea to find out what's ahead on the road. That's the only thing. We could, have a quick drink, talk to the keep or whatever, and maybe find out important things going on and then move on.
Take like
Certainly the horses need certain amount of tending, no?
He already takes care of that in the morning.
Okay.
yeah, I suppose.
Okay, we'll make a stop. We'll see if we can get some information. Those of us who want a drink can get one. But I'd like to spend as little time as possible in the town.
I'll pay to take the cup with me. How about that?
Oh. It's kind of flashing money around, but it's a good idea to speed things up.
Yeah, exactly.
They can certainly try to take us on. How about that?
There's more of them than there are of us.
We literally almost went toe to toe with the demigod. I think we'll be all right.
Hmm. For what it's worth, now that I'm actually out in the field, do I still feel like I am more resistant to cold?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you do. You still feel like you have the blessing of Aurel on you. Yep.
So, yeah. Or, I mean, it's a lawless town. I could just steal a cup. Like, I feel like it would be fine.
You're walking around in a very bright, shining suit of armor. Most of us are outfitted very well. There's not many situations where folks who look like us would come out of there without a good fight. I've been around Icewind Dale long enough to know that usually ne'er-do-wells usually go for the shinies first.
Well, honestly, I would love for them to try and put up an honest fight.
You're
But
not
now's not the
instigating
time.
any fights. You're not stealing anything. You're not instigating any fights.
Well, I mean, I would tip them, but I would the cup.
You're
To
right
save
about it's
time.
probably not a big deal to steal the cup, but I mean, we don't have to be lawless because they are.
I just
It's
figured it
probably
would
not
be
a big deal
interesting.
either.
How many chances are we going to get to have one of a
Probably
pint
a
of
few.
sober? Well, anyway, I can see this is not going to fly, so we can just storm through the town.
All right. So it's gonna take you roughly 10 hours to
Mhm.
get to Sobar. And this is where you guys. So on, if you guys can see my cursor. Once you, if you guys want to trek the whole time, you can get to around here, which is around 20 miles from Trail.
Mhm.
Um, and you'll get in like halfway there. So if you guys want to really go through, not dally through Sobar and just trek it, you're going to be right here. Is that the plan?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay. So this is what ends up happening. You do walk through Sobar, and sure enough, you get a many looks, many people eyeing you up. As a matter of fact, you're confident, you're confident that people absolutely want to steal that armor that you have. There's not a lot of heavy armor there, whatever. They look at your caravan. People want to jump you, but it's pretty evident that people are also intimidated by the entire party. No one talks to you at all. Everyone silently watches you. You get some scragglers before you get past Sobar, though. You do get scragglers. People thinking they're trying to be kind of like stealthy by going over here to like track you. Uh, the ones that fail, there's two groups that fail. You guys see them. Let's resolve that first. What's the idea? So you've now seen two groups. There's only 100 feet or so from you. Uh, they're trying to follow you. They're doing a piss poor job at it. You guys are just more astute. You didn't have to roll to do this or whatever. Even with the passive perception of the group, you guys will hit this up. What do you want to do to them to make sure they don't deal with you? I mean,
Um,
what's your
can I
intimidation tactic? You can
can
just
I
roll straight
try?
up intimidation. Yeah, great
Yeah, I
if
was
you
gonna
need
say,
to.
can I just try intimidation?
I'll aid with that.
Guidance.
You're gonna get advantage on top of that, so you get advantage on this. So because you out level them significantly, which is why you get advantage on this. Yeah.
What does guidance give me? A D4?
A D4.
All right.
All right, so 28.
Yeah. So what do you want to say to them? Or what do you
He's
want
not
to
going to
do?
say
So
anything. He's just going to draw his glaive and kind of. If they're following us, he's going to try and like hang off the back of the uh, wagon with one hand,
yep.
with the glaive in the other, and just give them the eyes, the mad dog face.
Crazy eyes.
Yeah. As soon as they realize that essentially the jig is up and you can see them, and they see that now you're like tracking them, they bolt. They bolt back to town. Both groups.
Hmm.
That's what I thought.
Oh, look at you.
Is this whole region supposed to be lawless?
No, just the town, and you're not
Okay.
even sure how that works. Because I mean, there's certainly other places that have declared themselves lawless. They always get brought under. Sobar has not got brought under.
Mhm.
So now, Hino knows, or vaguely remembers, the next town coming up is Trell,
Um,
Triel. But go ahead, everyone, do a roll, and let's see what we actually know about it.
This is history again.
Yeah, history. Yeah.
22.
21.
Okay, so Henri knows the most, but so Kino and Henri, you both remember that it's a small village. So the most interesting portion about this town, though, that you remember, both of you, is that it is a small village where the fields of the dead are located at an intersection of the Tradeway and the Dusk Road, so it's like pretty close. And this fields of the dead thing is not generally marked on a map. It's basically this area that's it's kind of like this entire like plain where the troll heels are, where like where those jutting structures were that popped up, and it was named that because a long time ago there was a pretty nasty war, and a necromancer came through after the war was done and started raising like literally hundreds of these things. But what he used them for, whatever, that's all lost in time. But that's kind of why it's set up there, but why it's named the Fields of the Dead. But anyway, um, so sorry guys, hold on one second. Yeah, right. Okay. So the interesting thing that you know though is that the original ruler was of Trell was Elvar the Grain Lord, and this guy was basically like this very popular trading merchant, and he basically built the city up into like what it is today. It's actually a pretty like well-known trade establishment. It's got really good protection thanks to the original money he set up. um but he did something really important in this region, and that's that he actually was the one who built up um a really rudimentary news organization between this town and several other towns that are close to it. Um, so that said, it's grown into this area that has like information. So you can stop in trail, and in particular, there's actually a a very like established, and granted it doesn't go very far, but it's a real true news organization that you could stop by and potentially get some good insight on the area. There's two things that are pretty notable in this place, by the way. There is the Blue Griffin Tavern, and there's the Winding Way Tavern. Both of them are popular. Um, uh, and the only other thing that you remember is the Blue Griffin Tavern has a really popular signature drink. It's blue ale. It's claimed that it's not dyed or anything like that. The actual hops from the ground are meant to grow blue. However, with a nat 20, you realize that this is probably not true. This is probably literally a gimmick. No one's ever caught the owner on this, but it's thought that what he takes, like he basically either pays a wizard or goes to great lengths to basically dye his hops blue somehow in the ground, like the seeds and everything, because it does pop out underneath, but it's not natural and it's not special by any means. Matter of fact, it doesn't really even taste different. But but with an at 20, you would know that there is a very strong educated guess slash rumor that this is somehow magically enhanced, whatever. It's all bullshit. But anyway.
Why would you even do this? The blue doesn't make it taste better.
I want a blue drink so bad. It is.
It makes
Alright,
no
so
sense. You realize that.
we didn't stop at the last city. Could we get a blue beer?
If you'd want to waste the time.
It'll be like 10 minutes, in and out.
When has anything you've ever done since you've met me taken more than or been quick?
Well, that's different. You do things slow, I do things quick.
Maybe they have a drive-through.
Yeah.
It does seem like a good idea. All right, well, let's go. The more we talk about it, the longer it'll take.
Yeah, Ryan will stick and watch the cart.
All right. So the only thing is you're going to need to spend another night going through. I assume you're going to do the same watch and everything.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you guys get to the middle thing of Sobar. Same thing. You set up camp. You go through the same watch system. Sure enough, this time there are many, 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 many shady characters that walk back and forth between this area. You notice Kino would start to notice them if it's the same watch because they're all going to come around 3 a.m. in the morning or so. Many groups. No one's attacked or anything, but there are just basically groups in 2, 4. You see a group of 8 wandering around. They're actually pretty brazenly close to the road. It looks like they patrol the area up and down. So all of them suspicious. None of them seem like they're like just people walking the road. So there's a decent amount of these that are coming through it. So, but no interaction, right? You know.
No, no.
Okay. All right. So you guys wake up the next morning. No one's messed with you. No one even came up to your hut. They didn't even notice or see. You guys were outside enough that they didn't even care. So, you do wake up and you guys start entering into trail. So this is what you guys see and notice at least. Sorry. Uh, Once you get into trail, sure enough, it is pretty small. It looks like maybe only 200, 300 people live here. There's a main road that has most of everything that you would expect. It has the 2 taverns that I mentioned. There's a new tavern there, however, that you weren't familiar with, Henri, when you remember this. So it must be relatively new. That tavern is named the Singing Wind Inn. Um, Other than that, though, you do notice the larger building, like kind of like the centerpiece of Trail, which is that news station that I mentioned. Basically, what it is it's a building made entirely out of wood. Um, you can when you get close enough to it, you can hear the sounds of what seem like uh some kind of steam contraption, and there are right outside 3 or 4 gnomes angrily like talking back and forth. There's some kind of like some mishap inside of that, and you can actually hear it from the thing. It looks like the machine might be malfunctioning or something, but other than that, the city is relatively busy even though it's small. um but like I said, there is another tavern that you see there called the Singing Wind Inn.
Well,
Oh, look at that.
those of you who are interested in getting a blue beer, now's your chance.
Okay.
We're leaving
Uh,
again in 20 minutes.
yes, I will walk in. Uh,
Yep.
I will grab a beer. I'll. Uh, I will. How much would it cost?
It's 4 silver, which is still pretty pricey for a single thing of beer, but reasonable, I guess, for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not too much.
I'll put down an extra silver and I'll walk out with the cup and walk back to the cart.
Yeah, so here's the thing. It does taste exactly the same as any other beer. That said, it is a slight novelty when you go through it and start to drink it because again, you even like go through and look at it. You remember like obviously you remember Abel saying something about it being nonsense too or something. But here's the thing. And then Henri told you she was pretty sure that that this is like a fraud. But it can't be dye because you even like let it sit on like a piece of napkin or whatever. It does seem like it's naturally blue. Like the dye would have run off on like your clothing or another thing. This does seem naturally blue, like as if the hops themselves were blue when they went through it. But it's hard. It's hard. It's not like he like just put dye in it. It's actually a pale blue, so it looks very cool. Other than that, it's exactly like you expected. It tastes just like normal beer.
Actually, if it's not like a crazy big beer, I'll just finish it and then walk out.
Okay. Yep.
But yeah, I'll still tip
Yeah,
a
one
silver
and
and
one
walk
doesn't
out.
really affect you much, your
Yeah.
weight and everything. Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Okay. Um yeah, so you do that. You do pass by the Singing Wind Inn. The door is open and you notice that inside as since you had to go to the other end to go through this singing wind is right next to this building, you notice that inside is what looks like some kind of like it looks like 3 or 4 flutes that are basically in like a cyclone, and that's where the music is coming from, as if it's literally a singing wind.
Hmm.
It sounds like it's put together. Yeah, sorry. So it sounds like it's put together in like a basically a very happy tune. It doesn't sound like music that wind could just make on its own. This is definitely some kind of magic or something. And it's all Kino sees when the door was open when somebody was coming through. It looks like it's the centerpiece of the inn itself, and it looks like it's literally a cyclone. There are 3 flutes that he saw, and that's where the music's coming from.
That's weird. Anyway, I walk back to the cart.
It's a neat trick. I bet it's popular with guests. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, we should have waded through the rubble of that and brought the fish with us. Yeah, I love that fish. No, it's a monumentally terrible idea. We've had some bad ideas, but that might be the worst. No.
Mm.
All right, so you guys now are within a day's reach of Grinstown. So if you push throughout the night, you can get there. If you do decide to go that route, it is a thing on Tailspire. I'll just have to fire up Tailspire. I can share it with you.
Yeah, I'm fine with the same sleeping arrangements and watches.
Yep. All right. So, pretty uneventful when you guys do go to bed. And this time, you don't see anything but animals, bears, and other things. As soon as you get up, what time would you like to plan to get to Grins? If you, there's a couple different options. If you get up as soon as you can, you're going to get to him around like 10 o'clock. The town 10 o'clock. If you want to wait, you can wait and just give me a time you'd like to enter.
I mean, this sounds like your deal, Grin. What time is best to arrive for? You know the town.
Yeah. Well, it's been some time since I've been home, but I feel like we should try and get there in the morning.
Okay.
Or mm, either first thing in the morning or sometime in the early evening when the miners would be coming home from the mines. Just before
Yeah.
dark.
Why don't we try for earlier? We can, have a quick breakfast and we'll head out.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm running a link for you guys. All right. I'm gonna put the new link in Discord. I just tested it. Here you go. Weird. Okay. Okay. And then I'll summon you. It's just gonna put you to a random board here, so I will summon you. Let me know when it starts to bring you guys in too.
Now that we're like a day outside of his village, Grin is starting to look noticeably uncomfortable and nervous.
What's the matter?
Um, yeah, it's been a long time since I've been home.
Yeah. Well, that shouldn't mean anything. They're still the loving family you left. Yes. Yeah. I mean, you were probably strong when you left, but now they'll get to meet all of us. We'll get to meet your parents.
I mean, I doubt anything, you know, has happened like in the other towns we saw. It seems like most of the towns here are like they're supposed to be in the books. So,
It's true. That is comforting. Yeah, I was younger than Henri when I left.
As you start to come up to the village, by the way, in the hills, Grin, you can tell right off the bat, the village has been built up pretty significantly more than when you remember it, first and foremost. There are a couple structures that you do not recognize that you're going to have to get closer to, um, but I mean, obviously, your memory was this was a very small gnome hamlet, and certainly it looks like quite possibly maybe something happened where there's a boom in the silver mines or something, but there's been some developments for sure.
But they look like gnome developments.
Not all of them, but many of them do, yes, but not all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you
are
start to
there
see what also seem like normal sized houses along with the gnome aesthetic and all of the other things that you recognized from previous.
They've been gentrified.
By normal size houses, they're like bigger.
They are bigger, yeah. Different.
Okay.
There's a different thing as well. Unfortunately, with Tailspire, I don't really have the option of building what would be awesome gnome houses. So, um, I'll help. Grin will be able to point out some of this too, but you'll kind of be able to see where the city was built out a little bit, and then where the outcroppings are. So, but it's already much bigger. Like even the horizon, because this is a city in the hills, and even when he goes through in the horizon, he notices. I mean, where Grin's from is actually pretty interesting and rare place anyway. So there's actually a stream that goes along the entire like upper parts of these hills. That's pretty nice. That kind of like is a natural defensive posture within the town itself. But it's also just very cool to have a stream like in the hills like this. That's going through it. I couldn't really like build it exactly the way I was hoping to, but and I already used someone's established thing to go through and build a lot of this, and then just add it on to other stuff. So, but let me know when everyone's here. I think we have everybody, and I'll
Yeah.
share it
Family.
for the other people. Yeah, yeah, he doesn't have it, so I'm gonna share it with. Here we go. Cool. All right, so you notice, so the first thing you guys notice is Grin takes you up the path or whatever. I mean, most of it's the same, Grin. Like you notice the same, uh, like really large cover bridge. This is where like this is actually meant to be normal size because this is where like the trade passengers would go through. Like anybody that was actually doing business with the town or buying silver would
Mhm.
come through this bridge, this covered bridge here. Let me get it back to normal too. Yep. Um, so, and if you guys want to look at my stream, it might be a little easier for now. Grin, one of the things you notice right off the bat that is really bizarre and very strange is number one, you have a really large covered farming area that you don't remember with a bunch of houses that you do not remember being there, first and foremost. There is a large structure off in the distance that looks like a giant sword that was never there. Same thing with this larger building over here. There were ruins there from an old church, you remember, a long time ago, but someone's either repaired it, built it up, or whatever. Like, this is all new. The ruins that you remember by the old silver mine are still there off into the distance. However, as you start to enter the town and go through it, there are littered throughout the town are these stone-like creatures or golems. None of them are moving at the moment, but it looks like they're set up to do either construction or something else, but there's more than one of them in the town itself. Now, you also noticed that there's more farming settlements than you remember as well. Certainly, big things have happened since you've been gone, and if you look, there's more of these like stone kind of golem things as well. So lots of big things have happened, but most notably, if you remember, the old silver mines are very much still intact. As a matter of fact, you remember old Berry Bottom's actual like grist mill that was built into like a tavern for people to stay in right by the silver mines, still exactly how you remember it.
Mhm.
Curiously, you do notice that the silver mines seem to be working. They are as a matter of fact, Grin, once you go over there to look at them, you notice that there's a very clear new entrance that was built in and a bunch of other things that you don't remember going into it. But other than that, we can start in real time from there. So
have-
let's start all the way back from the cover bridge. I'm going to get you guys miniatures and we will start in real
Also
time.
the defender.
Yep. Yep.
Grin, this is beautiful.
It's very nice. They have quite a fleet of giant automatons, it looks like.
Yeah, that's new. But gnomes are tinkerers.
I've
That-
heard that. Those are impressive.
That sword is really big for a gnome.
He's right.
I
It's big for any of us.
Yes. It's big for me.
That's-
It's big
that's
for
true.
anyone. It would be big for
It
a
would be
hill
big for
giant.
Grin.
Sword concerns me.
So, are you sure the sword wasn't here when you left?
Yes, I'm sure. I think I would remember something like that.
Maybe it's a temple to some god with a sword with their symbol. Is there a giant sword god that your people worship?
No.
No.
I mean, they worship the big three gnome gods: Steelskin, Glitter Gold, and Iron Fist.
That's one of the ones you worship. Henri, you feeling that beer?
Is that Henri
You
doing
didn't
the
get a blue
spins?
beer?
That is on it. Yeah.
Man. Okay, Luke Skywalker.
Straight
milk
from the
wo-
teat.
Blue milk would have been a little too close, huh?
Don't let Henri near that one animal.
Just looks into her eyes and is feared.
Here we go. Here you go, Gren. Cool. I think everybody has access to their minis now. And this is you, John. Yeah, all right. All right, so as you guys go through and look at the cover bridge, one thing that you do that is new that you clearly remember is there's a bunch of gold and silver filigree on these actual lanterns, which also seem to be relatively new, much fancier than you remember, Bryn. As you start to go through and get into this area here, you notice that for the very first time you see this clearly, there is a giant, it's currently inactive, wooden automaton that is set up next to this farm. Certainly looks like it's maybe set up to help with the farming, although you're not entirely sure that's the case. No one has ever seen anything like these things, though.
These are an
Hey.
unfamiliar design.
I
Yeah.
guess they must have come into some prosperity in the.
Yeah, go ahead and do. Everyone can do perception checks if they'd like to get a closer look at these things. So far, no, you don't see anyone in the town though. So far,
We don't see anyone.
not yet. So far, it's empty.
I got a nat 20 on my perception.
Okay, so Gren, this is first and foremost, you notice that there is what looks like in the center a tiny door that looks like it's probably open to a cockpit that is gnome size. It does look like this is probably used by a gnome themselves. It's gnome size. You notice, but you also notice that the carvings themselves look relatively familiar to you, like something your dad, Timberberry Beard, would carve furniture wise. You're a little shocked because you don't remember him as a great tinkerer or anything like that, but this is his furniture design. The door for sure. It has his like flares and everything else. You know it surely is your father's. He has made this door. Maybe made the whole thing, but at least the door.
I tell everybody that.
Yeah. You did.
I can see he took up a different hobby since I've been gone.
Oh, your dad's pretty smart, probably.
Yeah. Your dad did that. Wow.
Do we hear people?
No, not yet. You don't hear anyone. That's suspicious to you immediately. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's find my home if we could.
Yeah, so you guys start to walk. So Grin, your home, your old home is, sorry, hold on 1 second. Where did I put it? Not yet. No, but Butterball doesn't see anything that's the only thing that Butterball does notice. Yes, sorry, so Butterball does see things though. She doesn't see anything invisible, but Butterball will come back to you and say for sure that she thinks this automaton thing has some magic inside of it. It's not a ton, but there's certainly some magic at play with this thing. So Gren, your house is right. Can you see my light?
Mhm.
So this is your
Uh,
house, relatively plain.
I don't see your light.
Here, yeah.
Oh,
It's
If
a
you come to
low
my
house
stream,
near a grove.
yeah, if you come to my stream, yep. There's another one of these automatons that's close to your house as well. But yeah, over here. Yep, that's right. Yeah, so Gren, this is your house. It's a pretty unassuming house. If I could have built it smaller, I would have. This was clearly built for gnomes to live in. Pretty unassuming, and relatively close to the mines. Um, and this is your family home where you grew up. But before you enter the house, there's first of all, there's a couple of different things that you notice that are new. First of all, Grin, you have no idea what these things are. Where my light is, you don't know what these are. These are new. These things over here, no idea. That said, um, before you guys go to enter the house, oops, hold on, let me grab the miniature.
I mean, if there's anything vaguely technological looking, he's obviously like inspecting it as we pass it, trying to figure out what things are.
should have shaved before I got here. They're not going to recognize me.
No, you have to grow the beard out so they know time has passed. And now Henri shows up. She's just walking. Well, we'll check. There's time to check out the sword later. No. No, leaving our sight before we figure out what's happening. You want to get in the backpack? It's just a question.
So you guys see this gentleman come up to you, seemingly out of nowhere, but it's not like he materialized or anything. Um, he's not an elf though. He is human. He has long white hair, dressed incredibly fine. Who has the highest natural perception in the group again? I'm sorry,
That would be Orion.
Ryan. What's your perception? What is it? 16. 16.
Abel has a 16 as well.
17.
Oh, 17. Okay, so you have 17. Okay, no, that's cool. Hold on one second.
Just don't know what the hell happened to my mini though.
If it matters, Abel has a 16.
Yeah, I it's okay. I can summon you back, but hold on one second.
Back at the bridge.
I
You
think
double
I can
click when
fetch
you're-
everyone now too. So hold on. Let
Not
me
in the
try
program.
this. Yeah. Let's see if this works. Did it summon your mini? No, just you as a person. Damn. Hold on. Oh, you know what? You know what you can do? I figured this out the hard way. Double click on your character portrait, and then oh, I just did though, and you are gone. What?
Who are you talking to? Me?
No. So if I double click on,
Yeah, it puts me
yeah,
down at like
yeah, no,
minus
it's cool.
space.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool. I'm gonna give you another one. Hold on. Hold on one second. Yeah, Tailspire is buggy like this. Let me get you another one. Actually, there's a better. Yeah, screw it. I'll just do. What's this one? It's a new one? I didn't even notice this guy. No, it's not new, but oh, that's cool. Yeah, we'll put you. We'll do this one for you, Orion. Here you go. Sorry. There you go, John.
Hope that'll work.
It's not a turtle, but that's yeah, cool.
From
All
the
right.
back is good enough.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay, so a couple different things. Hold on one second. Okay, so sorry, just typing things out. All right. So anyway, so the man comes up to you. He is human. He has long white hair. Relatively charismatic looking, so relatively good looking. He is wearing really fine clothing, and it looks like he is wearing a metallic breastplate underneath there. But he does come up to the group, and he says, hello?
Grin's going to greet him in Gnomish.
Yep.
Hello, sir.
All right. And Tyler, you saw the message as well, right?
I did.
Okay, cool. Um, he says, he looks at you and he responds back in Gnomish, and he says, "Do you know what happened?"
He's Grin speaking in Gnomish. He'll say, "I don't. What are you talking about?"
Well, it's strange. Around 3 to 4 months ago, the entire town went silent, and I was here investigating this myself.
What do you mean they went silent?
Well, and he looks around and he says, "It's strange, right?" And he goes through and he starts walking this way. He said, "This town has been a beacon of silver and trades goods for years. I made it quite a business myself. Um, and then he looks back to you, Grin. He says, "But wait," he says, "Are you from the town?
Yes.
When was the last time you were here?" And he looks at you. You can tell he's making some kind of like he's now like sizing you up and down, trying to figure out.
Grin is like just starting to feel the anxiety like kicking in.
Yeah.
I left about 10 years ago.
He says, He says, "Well," he says, "So," and he looks over and he says, I'm so I'm an investigator from Neverwinter, and I was hoping to find out and get to the bottom of what happened. Um, the fact that you're actually from the town, though, makes me think that." And he pauses and he says, "Well," he says, "I could tell." And he looks back at the group. He says, "I could tell that you probably didn't live here. I can tell by this, rather eclectic group of people that you're capable people like myself. At first, I thought that you were sent here just like I was, but I could read your face." And he looks at you, Grin, and he says, "So i you have no idea why the town might be empty?"
The last I was here, the town was doing well. It wasn't as big as it is seems to be now, and I don't remember any human structures being built here, but everyone was as fine as normal people are.
He says, "Well, you should know, especially if you lived here, that around 7 years ago, it was discovered that there was a amazingly large, very, very valuable vein of silver that ran miles beneath um, the end. There was a disaster a long time ago. I don't know the details, but several gnomes were killed. There was a cave collapse. Uh, I don't even remember what year this happened. It could have been 10 years, could have been 7, could have been 12 for all I know, maybe 15. But uh,
I
shortly
remember the
after that,
cave collapse.
a couple years later though, uh, a dwarven company came in. Uh, they actually almost purchased the mine, but through luck, the original family owners only leased it out to them. Had they purchased it, it would have been a disaster because they only paid somewhere around a couple thousand gold for the entire thing. This turned out to be worth well more, as you can see, looking around. And he looks over the town. All this industry was built from this mine. However, once this vein was discovered, uh, there were some competing interests. Um, I heard some strange things going on in regards to the town, and he looks up and he points to the large sword that's over there. Um, but I wasn't sure myself or sure completely on what exactly was going on. Um, and then he looks at you directly, Grin, and he says, "But any insight you could tell me on like the time that you were uh living here would be helpful. Like anything, do you remember like before you left, do you remember anything that could kind of get to the bottom of why this entire town seems to be empty currently?"
I don't know. I remember the mine collapse, but that uh, obviously the town prospered after that, right?
Yeah, but you were around during the mine collapse? I don't know the full history of that.
And might uh hi. Sorry, I didn't mean to I'm Kino. Um might I ask uh how do you kind of fit into this timeline?
and the dragon looks at you. He goes through and he basically like gives like 3 or 4 like hand symbols, and everyone, go ahead and do me a favor. Everybody roll for initiative.
Okay then.
Just roll for initiative. It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to be in combat. I just need to see if anyone can beat this. Okay.
18.
16.
All right.
I guess we were ready for a fight.
Oh my god. 5.
All right. No, that's cool. All right. What is your total initiative, Henri? All right. Awesome. Okay. You do get to go. So Henri gets to go first before this happens. Then who got the 17?
I have a
Uh,
I have a 16.
I have
16?
an 18.
So didn't someone roll a 17? Was that you, Grin?
I rolled a 16 plus 2.
A 16 plus 2. Okay. All right. He got higher than an 18, so that's why I'm. Uh, he got a 19. Did anyone roll? Did anyone get a 19?
21 was the highest.
Okay. All right. Cool. Awesome. All right. Okay. All right, Henri. You get one action for 6 seconds. This is yeah. So all you see is that he has made a semantic and verbal gesture. He's casting a spell of some kind. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead and you roll, right? Yeah.
No.
Yeah. He is. They are. Yep. You make an ability check. Yep. Right. Okay. So right. So the spell goes off. Give me 1 second. That's fine.
Jesus.
Hold on 1 second though. Yep. Okay. Hold on 1 second. All right. All right. So for 3 rounds, every single person. So for 18 seconds, everyone is completely frozen in place as if time has stopped. He's however, you guys can still see that he is moving what seems to you to be like incredibly quickly, and he moves out of this area here, and he literally transforms into an incredibly large, maybe ancient size steel dragon. No one has ever seen a steel dragon before, and only Kino has any idea what a steel dragon could possibly be. Because steel dragons are, it's like different than an iron dragon, and they look very very different because their wings look like they're in the shape of swords. As a matter of fact, everything about this dragon is pointy and um like is pointy and like sword like essentially.
Mhm.
They look very very different than the normal, like the normal metallic dragons that just happen to be like they are. This is a very, matter of fact, I can give you the original art to some of the older editions of this is how you know it's different, but Kino, you know exactly what this is.
Yep,
um uh, do you remember a long time ago
I
I
do.
sent you that? You remember all of it, right?
I do. I remember the article. Do I get
Okay.
a
Very
do I
good.
get a name with when the eyes go off?
Yeah. So his name is Velric.
Oh, is that with a B?
No, with a V. Velric. Velric. So he transforms into this incredibly large dragon. He looks directly at you, Kino, and he says, "You broke my game. How dare you break my game, human? Who are you?"
I'm a friend, if you will allow me to talk.
Can we all speak?
This is after the time stop is over. Yeah, he hasn't made any threatening advance to you at all. This is after 18 seconds. Sorry.
Grin's
This is
taking out his glaive.
Grin,
yeah,
wait.
yeah.
What did you do at the dragon?
We just want. We've come a very long way. We just want answers.
Yeah, that's not exactly correct, but it's close. He is fucking massive.
Where is everyone?
Yeah. And he looks over to you, Grin, and he says, first, let's deal with the interloper." And he looks at you, you know, and and he also says aside, he's like, "Little orc, I have done nothing to these people at all. I'm more concerned with the one who broke my game. Do you have any idea what you've done?" And he looks at you.
I have
You know.
a guess, but I would love to hear your side of the story.
Yeah. So uh he says, "Do you know how long it's been since I've been reminded of what I am? Thousands of years. How dare you?"
What?
You do understand what he's talking about, right, Tyler? If not, I'll remind you through this.
I don't. I don't know if I'm just
It's okay.
missing it, but
No,
yeah.
you probably forgot. It's fine. So one of so this, you know, all this intrinsically with your ability, and I won't make you read through it because it's rather long. But so there is something very specific about steel dragons. No one else in the party knows this, but Tyler's character, obviously. Steel dragons live out their entire lives as something else. They are essentially
Oh, okay.
immortal unless they get killed. So, and because of that, each still dragon tries to live out the majority of its existence for the first 500 years of its life or so as a dragon, but it gets super, utterly, insanely bored. And because still dragons are some of the most powerful dragons that exist, they do not necessarily have any alignment with Bahamut, by the way, even though they are technically metallic. They are the rarest, oldest form of dragon. This is one that you certainly must have released, by the way.
Yep.
Um, it what ends up happening is they live out entire lifetimes from birth all the way to death, and they even die. People bury them. Their bodies die and everything, and then they get basically reincarnated. And for a brief moment, for a span of a week, they become their dragon form again. They remember all their past lives, and then they start the game again. And they do this for fun, because otherwise they go bored and they kind of go insane, because they're going to live forever. So this is the whole process from the steel dragon. This is a real thing. This is how they work. This is everything else. However, seeing you, the dragon realized that you saw through it, and that is obviously what ended up spawning this debacle that we have going on right now. You have seen through its charade. So whatever it was, it's family. And by the way, if so, Kino, you know this privately. Steel dragons also literally go through their entire lives from they literally fake births and everything. So basically, what they end up doing is they enchant humans to think, this is during that weak process, to think they had a child in some capacity or whatever. They start as a baby. They are that powerful. They make themselves babies and they grow like humans. And so this dragon's entire life, he probably has a wife, he probably has people that love him, whatever. It's all a lie. They will never know. And they do this over and over and over again. Sometimes they live as a man, sometimes as a woman. They just go through this through like pure boredom or whatever. I'll give you the rewrite when you go through it as well, because these are probably one of the more interesting dragon races in the entire canon of
Okay.
existence. That said, they are one, if not the most powerful dragon that exists. Tiamat has no sway over them. Bahamut has no sway over them. They're in the realm of cosmic dragons themselves. They're like they're very very rare. There's only maybe 3 in existence. This is one of them. Um, and that's why. So you instantly kind of know this. You remember this getting into it. Plus your powers allow you to have all of this information as well. You're putting 2 and 2 together. Dragon probably has nothing to do with what happened in this town. He probably actually was an investigator from Neverwinter, maybe that, or he was lying for other very specific purposes. But he probably, in your mind, was not here to like take over Gwen's town or whatever. He probably was just living out his life to go through this. Even here's the thing: they really, really don't ever break the game. Let's say that because steel dragons love to like fall in love with people. They love to make their lives overly dramatic. A steel dragon will literally fall in love with a woman, but overly dramatic. Like they love like hardcore drama where their mate dies or like they're whatever. Like they love it because they're playing a movie. This is a whole movie to them, and they do it over and over again. But no matter how much they love the other person or whatever, they will never ever transform. Like they could easily like stop. Let's say that like somebody invaded their village or whatever. They'll avenge them as a human, but they will never transform. They will never break the game ever. So this might be the first time it's broken the game, and it's because you can see through it, which you're not supposed to, obviously. Anyway, so long story short, all that happens in an instance or whatever. Yes, they are powerful. Yes, they are wizards. Yes, they have all kinds of shit going on. Um, anyway, we can start from there. So he says, "Do you know how long it's been since the game's been broken? Tiny pathetic worm."
I do apologize. I did not mean to peer into the more private existence you have, but I am glad I get to stand here before you.
Are they speaking in common?
He was speaking to him in Draconic. But he knows that you're like he knows that you're Obsecron. He does go back to you, and he says, "Tiny green orc, I do not care about your village. I do not care about these people. I've done nothing to harm them. However, if you come at me and attack me, I promise you, I'm in no mood to be nice or merciful." And he does with his wings take like a giant flap. You guys can feel this from where you are. And he starts to like skyrocket like 20 to 30 feet in the air and he's flying. It's not far enough that he can't talk to you. Certainly not far enough where he can't breathe down hell on you if he wanted to. Um, but uh, but yeah, he's visibly agitated. And then he says in a booming voice that everyone can hear, "How did you see through my act?"
I, while I do not know how long you have been playing this game as you describe it, I know where you come from, where you were trapped. See, I know your soul was trapped. I don't know exactly by whom or for how long, but I took the steps to ensure your freedom. And some powerful men and women wanted to see you used as a weapon. And while I think you have all the power to, they wanted to strip you of a great portion of independence. And I think your potential is much greater than that, as you are an incredible, incredible being.
Do me a huge favor. After saying that, just make a persuasion roll. Just make a persuasion check roll. I want to see exactly how well that did, because that's reasonable. Oh, that one.
That's a nat one.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Yeah, so he billows. He basically takes his wings. He billows out a bunch of air going at the entire party, and he says, "You will see me again, pathetic worm." And he darts off.
Can I,
Like,
before,
go ahead.
as he says that, I'm just going to go, may I beg of you a minute more of your time? I can tell you what caused you to be here. For I was the one that helped unshackle you. I was the
Okay.
one that
Yep.
made the choice to free you.
Yeah, so he does go to leave. Hearing that you were the one who freed him, he comes back and looks at you. He says, "You have seconds before I change my mind and just decide to obliterate you." What do you mean?
I was trapped within the halls of the god King Aseric, and in there I found a magical vessel containing the souls of dragons, you being one of them. They had you in that to turn you into a Dracolich, but I halted the process and freed you and undid the chains that kept you within that book. I remember reading this story about you, and I remember thinking it would be an honor to meet this dragon. And I'm so glad that I'm standing before him now.
He said, "I was honestly thinking of flying back and just coming to kill you right now." He says, "Fine, fine, fine." And as he says that, he does dart off and he jets out and leaves. As soon as he gets 500 feet away from this entire town, this is what you guys start to notice. Slowly but surely, time almost seems like it like rewinds a bit. You guys see that entire thing happen again. That entire like exchange between the dragon itself go through, and then a bunch of things, a bunch of ethereal forms and people start colliding, and the town goes through and starts like basically being alive again, but in fast forward and going through it. Finally, everything stops. Everything goes back to the way it was before it, and then all of a sudden people are just around you. The whole town is alive. There's like everything going on, as if the town was never empty itself, ever. So yes, there's a bunch of people like going back and forth. Grin, you don't see your parents yet, but the town is definitely alive. You have no idea what the fuck is going on.
there's like a
I
few
have like
boys-
kind of a disapproving look at Kiono.
I look
Just-
back at them just like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, I feel
There's
so
like a
bad for
fuse
Tyler's
blown
character
in his
because this
brain.
was a complete ambush. Like, there's so little he could have done in this. Although, well, yeah, it's just yeah, this was unfortunate for you, Tyler. But this is how it was written before you had even released them. So
Okay,
yeah.
that thing was awesome, but what the hell is any of this?
I reach out and try and grab one of the people walking by, just to see if they're like real.
They are, and so you do. So here's the thing. So the first person you see is someone that wasn't very nice to you from the rival farms. Grin. He was a gnome from like one of the like upper, at the time, like a snotty, like kind of like he was basically like one of the wealthier kids to one of the more successful farms in the thing. And he looks back at you. He's a gnome. His name is Dink Cringerin, Cringerin with a C. And he's like, "Grin, where did you come from?"
Grin like is grabbing him like wild eyed and sweating and a little
Yeah.
crazed. Like what? What? Where? What happened here? Where was everyone just now?
He looks at you like you're a complete idiot, and he's like, "What are you even talking about?" He's like, "What? Why did you even come back here?" And he looks around at everyone else going through as well. He's like, "What, are you gonna like come through and like wreck everything again?" Oh my gosh! Like, who even let you back in? Weren't the guards outside? Like, how did this even like? And he goes back and he's like, starts bringing people over. He's like, "Look, it's Grin, the fucking idiot that ruined everything with our silver. Look, he actually had the balls to come back." As he says that, two of his friends do waddle over. You don't remember one of them. Maybe he's new to the town or whatever, but certainly the other one you do remember too. This is another kid that's not he was a kid when you met him. Not very nice. Obviously, they've aged. By the way, they have aged appropriately. It's not like they're frozen in time from in the past or anything like that. And he comes back to you and he's like, "Oh man, it's oh." He's like, wow. So what? You became like an adventurer, and he's looking around at everyone else in the group as well. It's like, oh, you're one of those guys. He's like, so did you come back to what, wreck your parents' house this time? And they start laughing hysterically.
Grin is so torn between like
I just turned to Henri and like, these guys are real assholes, aren't they?
Yeah.
Grin can't
I'm
reconcile being so happy that everyone's okay and wanting to strangle this gnome.
Yeah. It does look like, I mean, from it, it doesn't seem like it's an illusion. Obviously, these people are solid going through it. You have no idea what's up or what's going on or what's happening. But yeah, I mean, these are exactly how you do remember them, Grin. Jerks. But
These are ethereal people messing with him.
no, they're solid. Yeah.
Okay.
They're solid. Yeah.
Grin, are these people giving you trouble?
He looks back and he's like, "Oh, he's like, you're friends with this guy. Wait till he gives you trouble." And they both like wink and they point to the mine. He's like, "You have no idea what of a disaster this guy is."
This
Yeah.
This
Roll,
man-
roll an intimidation check with intimidation with advantage, Henri. It's fine. You've got advantage, and you're certainly more powerful than they are. They might be so stupid. Yeah, I was gonna say they might be so stupid that they don't realize it, but they're not in this case. They both do kind of like shut up immediately. They're like, well, whatever, and they like go to like basically waddle back to go through, and he's like, just stay out of like our section, like don't come over by us or whatever. And by section, he Grin, you know what he's talking about. The wealthier side of town is over on the right hand side over here with all the farms and everything else, and uh like over on this side, this is the older part of the town. Now clearly that may not be the wealthier side anymore, but if you look at my stream, Grin, it's where all the farms are and everything else. It looks like a substantial like wealth has congregated over on this side where all like the human like houses are, but that's what he's talking about. He's talking about their homes and everything else.
Grin's gonna stop her talking. It's fine. Just no, let's not cause trouble here, please.
Yep.
Just
Anyway,
let
so
him
the
go.
town is pretty alive at this point. I mean, it's pretty bustling. So
It's fine. Just let him go. I'm so confused. I don't understand what just happened with the dragon or why everyone's back, but I'm just happy that everyone's back.
Grin, I'm so sorry. I believe that the dragon was telling the truth in that it was just. I'm saying this quietly to him. He seemed. There was an influence that wasn't. He wasn't like ready to hurt anyone in the town.
Did like the town was empty and then he popped up and then now the town is full. Like what was he
yeah, Abel, make an
had
arcana
them
check.
captured?
Make
What?
an arcana check. Make an arcana check, because you maybe could figure this out, maybe. But make an arcana check to see if you can figure out what the hell's going on here.
All right. That's D4 on top of that too. So
Yep.
might be a 30.
What'd you get?
32.
Okay. All right. So the entire town has been bombarded with what looks like magic that you've never didn't know really existed.
Hmm.
But yes, it looks like a modified version of time stop. You by the way, you have actually heard and read things from other realms, things like Dunamancy and other things that you don't really understand or have any kind of inkling on. Something like that was going on. The entire area was set up in some kind of time occurrence. It's probable that the dragon was involved in that, but you're not exactly sure that that's the case. But clearly, he had some magic that was manipulating time.
Mhm.
That said, there's definitely more at play here because he was able to maybe permanently affect an entire town. Also,
Do I
that was
feel like it was something that was maybe running through these weird devices in everyone's yards, or
no, you
okay?
actually, and matter of fact, it must be more complex than that.
Hmm.
Either there's multiple devices or it's just a really complex thing that's going through, but it wouldn't be these devices here.
Okay,
The other thing that you also realize is that if the entire town was set up with time magic, you would have been affected the minute you stepped in. You don't know why that's the case either. That said, your best guess is that the dragon might have been at play here, and it couldn't have been for too long because
it
everyone's
would take a
healthy
little
and
bit.
alive. Yeah, and the town's fine. But the dragon did have some kind of something to do with any of this. But this is magic that you're kind of terrified of. Doesn't make a lot of sense, and it's really really powerful. And anyone that could do that could clearly also disintegrate everyone. Stuff like that. You're not very comfortable with that. So.
I'm pretty certain it was all the dragon working through the time. I mean, I'm looking at these devices. I don't think it has anything to do with what went on there.
That was
Uh,
definitely one of the more powerful entities we've come across.
hmm. Like I've
He,
never heard of a steel dragon. You knew,
he
it looked like steel. That's what the metal looked like to me.
yes, he was one of mine. If you can even say that. He, uh, he, yeah, that he was in a league of his own. Not the religious type, but with power like that.
Oh, by the way, you also know that they are not from Faerun. I
Would
don't
I
know if
know
you
that they're from?
Greyhawk.
What
They're from
I would know
Greyhawk,
that.
and the only one that has ever fallen, ever in the history of anything, because you know this with your special thing, was one that fell directly from Mordecanian. All the other, Steel Dragon may be able to go toe to toe, maybe with Tiamat, although that is debatable. Um, Only one has ever fallen, and it fell to Mordecanian itself. They're hyper powerful, and they're very deceiving because when you hear the name Steel Dragon, it doesn't sound like they would be, but they are. They are not metallic per se either. They are, but they're not. You don't even understand that truly because they are obviously metallic, but they're in a different class.
I mean, that's just them. That's fine. It's kind of nice to hear that not much has changed.
You want us to go beat the
Wow.
shit out of them for you?
No.
Do you want to see if we can find your parents? Maybe you'll feel better then.
Ooh, they weren't inside and heard all that. I hope that would be awkward.
It would be nothing they haven't heard before.
Well, don't listen to them. They're pieces of shit that don't know anything and don't know everything you've done.
The parents.
Yeah, that wouldn't be anything they hadn't heard before. Yeah, Grin's gonna go very slowly walk to the door of the house
Yep.
with a flower crown on.
Okay.
Also, Henri, trying to try. Did you try to counterspell that thing? That was cool.
To be fair,
Well,
very
I
little
mean,
could.
that, we're going for it on some sort of dragon god. Wow. I mean, yeah. Oh no, that was totally what you do when people try to ambush us with something we don't know what it is. That was awesome.
I
So immediately you do see your two parents. They are clearly older, but very obviously like recognizable. Give me 1 second. I want to make sure that I get everything included that you gave me as well. Yep. So you see Timber and Jingle both come and run to you. Um, that you can. So here's the thing that's important for everyone else. They are they are very happy to see Gren, but also a little hesitant and smiling, but like nervous. And Timber, his father, comes up and he's like, Grin, uh, how have you been? It's so good to see you. And he's like careful with the top of the. And he's like you can tell he's like a little worried that Grin might like bump his head on the doorway or maybe even you can't actually tell maybe damage things, but like so but they're clearly very happy to see Grin. Um uh your mom, Grin, comes up to you and she gives you a hug and she says, "Thank you so much for the money. We were so appreciative. We weren't able to send a message back. We didn't we talked to the messenger that came through and they said they would send you something, but we never got a response. We're assuming you never got my message?"
Uh, no. I didn't have like a. I haven't had like an address in a while, so
She said,
I
"Honey,"
guess I've
but
been kind
she
of
said,
hard to
"Honey, it's
find.
okay though. Look, everything worked out." And she like comes through and she like comes out and she points to the mine, and she points to the town. She's like here, and she goes to her husband, and she he like hastily brings out the gold too. He gives you your gold back that you sent them. He's like, we don't need it anymore. He's like, we're fine, we're good. It's like, but things are so good now.
Oh, but you don't have to give it back though, right? I mean, that was that was like that was for you guys.
She looks to her husband and they look like back and forth. She's like, no, we'll I mean, that's thank you so much, honey. And she goes through and she like takes the gold back. But and she says, "And who are your friends?"
I'm
Oh, right. The human is Henri. The turtle is Orion, and the blue guy over there is Abel.
I
Grin's father, by the way, is eyeing you up and down, Orion. He has clearly never seen anything like you. And she goes to you and she says, "Well," she says, "your dad's business took off, as you can see. Like everyone needs his woodworking skills now. And by the way, when you peer into the house, Grin, you notice that sure enough, uh, he has actually taken over a big portion of the house and made it into like a makeshift workshop. Before he was doing odds and ends with furniture to kind of make ends meet and go through things, but now he does seem to have a lot more equipment and going through. And she like points to some of the automatons. So by the way, they're slowly working right now. As you guys start looking around with all the noise you didn't notice at first, but these whatever they are busy doing like farm work for the most part, although some they are moving like heavier things around and going through it. Um,
did
she
you
says,
build those?
he said so so Timber does look at you, Grin's father. He says I actually didn't, but he said every single door, that's me. I also make some of the odds and ends on some of them. I'm kind of a, and you can tell he's very proud of this. He's like, I'm kind of a skilled woodworker. And he said if you want to come inside, I'll show you my work.
Sure. Abel looks
Yeah.
Yeah,
way
he's-
less impressed already.
Yeah, he does come in. He shows you. You see the workshop that's laid out, Abel, and this thing, but he is just a carver. He's a wood carver, and he goes through and he like shows you like some of the challenges that he had, like getting the doors in place and stuff. But yeah, he is not the tinkerer. Yeah, I mean, he is actually really good. He is pretty skilled. Not to
Ooh,
mention the
they're so
fact that
tiny.
yeah, the doors are all gnome sized. And he depending on who actually owns the automaton, he actually does carve the face of the person that owns it into it, which is how
Ooh.
he explains to you the whole story of how he ended up getting the job. When the boom came up and these automatons started coming into the village, he had literally just done and he is very open with the group. So ever since Grin left, like right when the Grin was leaving, the family was kind of in a bad place because they actually were working in the silver mines and they couldn't because of a mine collapse. And he looks over at Grin sometimes going through it, but says nothing else. And it's very clear they do not want you to probe into what happened during that silver mine collapse. Long story short, though, he tells you that he took up his other hobby and everything worked out and he was able to, he realized he was really good at faces, so every single person that has one of those automatons will now exclusively come to him to make a door which has a face of the owner on it.
Huh.
I'm Kino, by the way, and in all of the it was a little chaotic when we got here. I figured Grin accidentally forgot to introduce me. Hi, it's a pleasure to meet you. Your
By the
son,
way, no one has mentioned clearly, I mean, this has all been going on in real time, but you guys have started to put this together, even standard intelligence. No one knows anything about time stopping. Nothing has happened to these people. They haven't missed a beat. Anyway, go ahead, Kino.
Grin is just amazing. He's been an integral part of our team, and he's been an absolute pleasure to travel with.
Yeah,
You've
and
raised him well.
they both give like a nervous laugh, and they're like, oh, "See," and they like look at you, Grin. They're like, "We're so proud of you. This is great. You've really come into your own."
I mean,
Gwen's like standing outside, like just outside the door, looking in.
he's done legendary stuff. He's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he has.
his mom comes up to you, Grin, and she gives you another hug, and she says, "See, I knew it. I knew you were destined for bigger things outside of this small little village."
Uh, yeah, it's been quite a time out there. I tried to send letters before, but I guess this place is hard to find. I guess for some people because I haven't heard from anyone in a while. Um, but I'm glad everyone's
You don't have
doing
to make an
good.
insight check on this, Grin. They both look between each other kind of nervously, like they look a little uncomfortable, but you guess that maybe they did get your letters but didn't know how to respond or didn't respond for other reasons. That's a personal thing from knowing your parents that you know. Anyone else that wants to have that information would have need to do an insight check. So they did get your letters but didn't respond for whatever reason. Yeah.
17 insight.
You would just know you would know, Kino, that the parents are hiding something. There's a reason why they didn't send letters back.
So why are there humans here now?
Yeah, so Timber speaks up, your father, and he says, well, he says, so a lot has happened since you've been gone. He said, first and foremost, uh, the mines. So he tells you that there was a dwarven expedition that came through around a year after you left. They tried to buy up the silver mine, and instead, the direct owner of the mine, by the way, the mine is owned by three different gnome families, and they almost sold. Instead, what they ended up doing is leasing the mine out for 2 years. Once they opened it up, they found a substantial vein of silver that does go miles below the village. Um, they mined as much as they could out of those 2 years, trying desperately to basically take all of the silver out. They weren't able to. There was still enough silver left to make a significant small fortune from the town. But once the mine was back opened, they basically got everyone in the village kind of involved because there was so much silver. So the wealth kind of started to basically spread through all of it. However, um, the wealthiest of them, um, the wealthiest the wealthiest gnome um, that essentially um, found the original like one of the ones that owned the original silver contract that went through. He had a brother off in Neverwinter that basically found gnome artificers that went through and basically built up this entire like contract that brought these automatons back into the city. And sorry guys, I'm trying. I have notes on all this that are like going crashing on me. So give me 1 second. That's why I'm stalling. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So yeah. So he brought these gnomes in through, and he explains this to you because Abel, this is going to be important to you. So he brought these gnomes in from Neverwinter. They were part of the Artificers Guild, and because of their wealth and because of the fact that they had some time, they
Mhm.
basically as a pet project decided to build these automatons to help the city. These have not been propagated anywhere else. These are actually only right now in Grin's village. They're prototypes, all of them, but the idea is to start building them out, replicating them, giving them to larger cities to go through it. There are some kinks currently within them. Um, but you'll have to explore that later. That's not part of his story, but those are the things that are important that you're going to be able to like gain through this. Anyway, so the Timber does start telling you he basically says so immediately after all of that. Once the town started to really prosper, a group of mages actually
Mhm.
became interested in the town, and he points over. If you look at my stream, he points over to this larger building. He goes, "Grin, the old church." He said it's completely rebuilt. These group of people came in. They called themselves the Black Cow. They came in. They had a bunch of money. They built up the church. They built up a small trading post, which is this structure here.
Did you say
Uh,
black cow or black cowl?
Black Cow. They
Okay,
called
that's better.
themselves the Black Cow. Uh,
Does
and
that ring a bell?
You can make a history check. It's gonna be tough.
An
They own
18?
these. The only thing that you vaguely remember from the Black Cow is that they were a band of wizards, not necessarily evil or whatever. You think the name Black Cow comes from it's actually like a bad translation from the Obsidian Cow, like as if their cow was made out of obsidian stone or something like that. But that's all you remember.
Hmm.
They're a pretty obscure group. Um, all of this structure, all these houses on this side, that's all owned by them. They also, by the way, farm a crop that's covered. He tells you about that too. It's a little mysterious. Um,
Cannabis.
but yeah, it's all covered. They're pretty protective about this crop. Other than that, as soon as they got here and the structure was built, there was a small disaster that happened within the city. Um, uh, Basically, a literal giant sword fell out of the heavens. This is not a building. As you guys are starting to inspect this closer, it is an actual sword. I just couldn't represent it that way.
No
Giant
way.
sword. Yeah, a giant sword fell from the sky, basically went into this area here, caused a huge like eruption. There's actually like lava and stuff in it. He explains all this. No one was killed, thankfully, only a few minor injuries. This almost stopped the entire like this was obviously a big deal. This stopped all the mining production, whatever. Um uh, Basically, there was an entire revolt to try to get the Obsidian Cal out of the city. They convinced everyone, though, that they had nothing to do with it, and they were investigating and trying to go behind it. And sure enough, they have been incredibly helpful, which is why they haven't been kicked out of the city entirely. That did happen after they came in, though, and sure enough, it is suspiciously close to the old building that they ended up, building, taking over or whatever. So that's really the rumor and gossip that he has going into it. He does give you some local so basically he also tells you that there is a new, but the family that actually owned um the most famous structure that was in this town, the grist sawmill that's actually in this thing here, Grin. That family has actually moved on because the predator died a while ago. This is now owned by a human family. And he does tell you that there are several humans now living within the village as well. Word is spread, and there's even some basically inventors and other people that are interested in basically helping with the automatons and getting them going. There's only a few working right now. There have actually been a couple mishaps with the automatons that I'll tell you about too. Some have fallen on buildings. There was one death where the automatons themselves actually, like the cockpit actually, like basically crushed its owner to death on accident. So they're not perfect. But that said, for the most part, they've been safe and pretty reliable, and been incredibly helpful in farming and moving things, building. Matter of fact, 3 of these automatons were actually commissioned to basically rebuild this church structure over here. And that was kind of their first test. And they built this thing in 4 weeks with stones and everything else.
Wow.
Amazing time. Yeah, yeah. In a month, this thing was built. So they are incredibly efficient. And assuming they can get all the kinks worked out, right now the other main disadvantage is they can only work 3 days at a time, and then they have to have a bunch of downtime where they have to be fixed and recalibrated. But in those 3 days, they get so much done that they've still been incredibly useful. They're trying to get them up to 5 days on, 2 days down, and then they're going to try to bring them to market.
And you said these are artificers that set those up
Yeah,
in
they're all
town?
artificers. They're all gnomish artificers that have started to build these. Yeah, so you'll be able
I bet
to.
I can get those up to a week.
Yeah,
We should go see them, right, Abel?
Definitely. Yes. Be interested to hear what they have to know. And
yeah. Yeah, now Abel, you think to yourself, I mean, this is the very first time you were able to make an impact. You build something like this. I mean, you fix something like this, and then it does get replicated and goes all over Faerun. You're certainly going to make a name for yourself, probably earn some money and all that stuff. But this is going to change everything. Like if just it's that kind of thing. Like this is realistic. If you do help with these and they start becoming replicated or whatever, this will change everything.
Mhm.
If you can build an entire village in months, that will change a lot of things. So something to think
People
about.
won't have to work as hard. I mean, what could go wrong with a giant army of automatons?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the town has really prospered with me not here.
Kind of wonder why that dragon was
Yeah,
here.
Timber.
But
Timber says that she says everything worked out. Everything worked out, son. And then he gives you a hush thing. He's like, don't worry about what happened in the silver mine. It doesn't matter anymore. It's hushed enough that everyone can hear that, though.
Grin just looks stricken.
I definitely like turn and give him an eyebrow to grin. I don't say anything, but it's pretty obvious I heard that and wonder.
Yep. Yep. And your
This
mom
is
does like put her hand like on you. She can't obviously reach your shoulder, but she puts her hand on and she says it's okay. He says, listen, you couldn't have known what happened. Yeah, I mean, sure, maybe you don't want to. And by the way, she says maybe you don't want to go to the Barry Barnes. That's one of the family who had people die in the mine. Maybe you don't want to talk to Jim, and you know who she's talking about. He's still around. He's 3 of his sons died in that mine, and his wife ended up like committing suicide before you ended up leaving. So she's like, maybe you don't want to talk to them, but it's fine. Listen, everything is fine now. It's fine, and we're so happy that you ended up like becoming something great.
Yeah, Um. Well, I things have been great. Everything's great.
Well, do you want to stay here for the night and go to bed? Like we have room, and they look around the house. I mean, they barely have room. They do have room for everybody, but you unfortunately, when you look inside the house, there's actually you can tell they're still not super wealthy people. As a matter of fact, here let me. So they really only have like the main room here. They do have, I just didn't get a chance to repurpose this room. This room is actually a bedroom, so just look at all this with a grain of salt. It's actually not a storeroom. Um, that's where their bedroom is. So it's a one bedroom house. Um, they do have room for you guys to like sleep on the floor or whatever, but it's gonna be a little cramped. You're probably gonna have to find some other place to sleep. Grin, you could certainly sleep here for the night though.
Yeah, I mean, I can set up my spot in the back in the yard like I used to.
Yep.
If you still have the
No.
cot,
I mean, don't they have like a proper tavern?
do we
They
have a
do.
tavern
They,
there?
they
Like a
do.
like a
It's right across yeah, it's right here that they were
like a
talking
big
about.
one?
It's not it's the biggest in this thing. It's meant for gnomes, but now humans own it, but it's also attached to like this grist mill. It's here in this
Ooh.
one over here. So
It's
yeah, you guys could get some rooms if you
It's the
need.
fanciest room in the rich quarter. You should get that one.
I don't think we should go over to the rich quarter. We could just go to the inn.
Yeah.
No, that's okay. But yeah, we're gonna. I mean, I, we can go find a room at the inn just across the way if they have big rooms now. More than just the normal size ones.
He actually does. So he'll respond to you. Your dad will respond to you and say, "Yeah, they do actually now. Is you should see it actually. They've done quite a bit with it. Granted, there are less rooms because they're bigger, but the family that owns that is pretty nice. And yeah, they've really like there's normal size room for normal folk now." And the wife looks at him like he's out of his mind by saying that, but he gives her a nudge. He's like, "Come on, we're talking to larger people here. That's what you say." And they like go back and forth. You guys can all tell from the way that Grin's parents talk, whatever, that they've lived in this town their entire life. They haven't seen much of the outside world.
I'm just gonna look at Grin's dad. Do you know? Just because of your trade, do you know the Knobber Knockers?
And he does. Let's see. So
Wait, why
he
do I know
does.
that name?
We met Copper.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. 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 Hold on. Let me see. He says. He says. I know the Gibberlins. I don't know any Knobber Knockers.
Okay, they do an automated door knocker. They have a patent on it. It's quite interesting stuff.
That's he makes doors.
Well, yeah, but it. Don't worry. There's no like business overlap. This was in Icewind Dale.
Yeah, his ears do perk up though when you say that. He's like he's like you wouldn't happen to have any like schematics or anything.
That's
You're
beyond
kind of
my.
embarrassed by your dad even asking this.
I kind of snort
Because
at that.
you kind of know that your dad, as skilled as he is, would certainly not be above taking someone else's designs and putting them out of his own potentially. I mean, your dad has always been incredibly like your dad has always been driven to make the family money. He's just never really found his niche. So you are really happy when you see that he's finally found something that works. But you're a little embarrassed about this too. You're like, but.
As good as his woodcrafting is, I bet he could make better faces for war forges. Cosmetic surgery.
Should we
Yeah.
bring brother a new face?
I feel like a wooden face would disappear very quickly on brother.
I don't know what
It-
that means.
It would just be like a charred. It's dangerous. Our line of work.
Oh yeah.
I thought you meant he was gonna eat
Well,
it.
many of his
No.
many of the original parts are wooden, so you know.
So, Grin, you're not going to tell him about any of the amazing adventures we've had?
He's like he looks like he's like going over the list of stuff in his mind that would be okay to tell them happened.
Yeah.
We killed a bunch of Durgar.
Okay, you know what? Let's not start with killing. He ran an incredibly powerful magical artifact that was like as powerful as the sun. He carried it like a football across a cabin. He just ran with it. And it could have destroyed an entire village, but he was strong enough where it didn't even knock him down.
Was the champion of
Oh,
an
his
entire
mother-
festival.
His mother is horrified by that statement. His father, wide-eyed, super proud of Grin. He's like, "You killed a Drugar? Good boy." He's like super happy about this.
Yeah, we killed like 50 of them, like a whole compound of them.
He said, "And what's worse than a dwarf? Drugar. There's
Drugar.
not much worse than a dwarf." Yeah, he's super happy that he killed Drugar. You can tell he's not very fond of dwarves either.
We took on an entire dragon of like this evil crystal.
Hmm.
And who was standing in the front? Grin. Grin's been
They both
an
look at
integral
you
part.
pretty wide-eyed. Like they can't really believe any of this. Like it's hard for them to reconcile it, but at the same time they are proud of you, Grin.
I mean, we met Grin in the halls of the Tomb of Horrors. Sarek's, grand soul engine. And he kicks ass in there.
He beat out a whole town in a race to the top of the spire at the Festival of Oral.
Yeah, he won like this marathon.
That wasn't.
Yeah, they both say like the mom goes to Grin. She's like, "Wow." She's like, "See, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it." And she goes to you. She says, "You know that we actually found." She's like, "I know you know this, but we're not actually Grin's like." And it's okay that I tell them this, right, honey? And she looks at you, and she's like, "I think they know though. We're not. We obviously I wasn't like I didn't like I wasn't."
No, we know.
And
We could.
she says, but she's like, "You have no idea how much of a strain it is to be at a small town and raise our son, who we love very, 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 very much. But I can't tell you. Maybe she's like, Grin, maybe we should like maybe just maybe you should tell more people in the town all the great things you've done. Maybe it would help heal the past."
I mean,
What
I feel like um, keeping as low a profile as possible while I'm here might be a better idea.
And she says, "No, no, it's okay, honey." She says, "Don't. I wasn't asking you to do this for us. I just, in case you ever wanted to clear your name, or in case you wanted to, you know." She said, "But don't worry." She said, "We don't care. We love you no matter what." So
clear your name? What did you do, Chris?
Um,
she she says, "Well," she says, "So this is, it's been a long night. So Gren, if you wanna see us in the morning, I'll make a big breakfast. You guys can go over and sleep, and then come bring your friends over, and we'll start the day."
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I don't know how long we can stay here. We have to go find someone. But yeah, we'll definitely come back in the morning.
That's great. I can't wait to see your friends in the morning. And
Timber.
Timber says, "Yeah, son, it's so good to see you." As he hugs you, by the way, again, Orion, you notice this. There is a small pendant of a metallic dragon surrounding his neck. He's wearing it. And then you look, and the mother is also wearing it. It's just a small pewter dragon. Both of them are wearing that.
Orion would definitely note that. Would he recognize what the pendant is?
No, it's a crude dragon. It's a crude small dragon. It doesn't seem like it's a holy symbol or anything like that. It's not tied to any known religion or anything. It's just the first one you saw is right when basically the father hugged Grin. You saw it come out a little bit, and then since you knew what you were looking for, you looked, and the mom has one too. Yeah.
He wouldn't say anything, but he would definitely take note.
Okay.
So Timber, do you know who runs? Like, is there like a leader of the artificers?
So he says, "Oh, the group that actually built these automatons." He
Mhm.
says, "Yep, Tamberbon." He said, "You can normally find him, and he Abel. You can see my stream, right? He points out his house. His house is over here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's his house / workshop. It's in the structure. Yeah.
I think I'd like to contact him to speak with him.
Yeah, he said you can say that you talked to me, and that's uh you know how you were able to get in contact with him.
Okay.
Just use my name, and I'm sure he'll understand.
Mhm.
He said, and then he looks over at you. He says, but before you go over there, he says, this is kind of my livelihood, and he looks kind of sheepishly even asking. But he said, what kind of business were you wondering about?
I am, I guess as Tamberbon might view it, a untrained artificer talent, and I need to more formalize some of the aspects of, well, jump through the hoops that they like you to have to be in guilds and practice. I'm sure there's not much I have to learn, but there are little practices and the forms and stuff that I need to uh, bone up on so I can better practice my art with other artificers. I mean, I'd be happy to teach them the stuff I know too.
He says, oh, wonderful. By all means, yes, use my name. Oh, perfect.
Thank you. I will, when we get a chance, I will get over to that. You say it's on the way a few over.
Yep. Yeah, and he does give you the exact location, so you'll be able to find it tomorrow as well.
Plug it into my
yeah.
GPS.
If people have a little bit of time, we did end up starting late, so I can go for 10, 15 more minutes. But we should resolve anything you guys want to do though, before we go to bed for the night or whatever. Is there anything that anybody in particular wants to investigate or look into or explore
Did
around
we
the
want to?
town?
Did we want to check out the covered crop? I say to Henri. Yeah.
Grin, if you want to, uh, let me know when you're going to be around the silver mine. There's a bunch of description that I need to impart to you. But as soon as you get within eyes of it, we're going to stop because there's a certain thing I need to describe to you and all that fun stuff. So just remind me if I don't stop you.
I think Abel would ask if I could just drop a message off at that house to tell that Amber Bond that I would like to meet him at some point. Then
Yeah.
if
Do you want to do it by
I'm
letter?
interested in checking out the church and the sword as well.
Yeah. Do you want to do it by letter, Abel? Do you want to write a letter and basically just introduce yourself? You can do some technical like prowess on the letter itself, and then where would you like him to respond? Because when you go over there, it's already for whatever reason he's not available now. Like he's either in his house or he's sleeping or something. But
I
how can he get
will
back to you? How can he find you in the letter?
I will check at whatever tavern got mentioned
Over here. Yeah.
at
Okay.
meal
You guys will stay
times.
here. Okay.
I'll
Perfect.
I'll check there at meal times
Perfect.
to
Yep. Good. All right. So you mentioned that in the letter. Yep. Well, there is a couple.
I'll send it with a tiny little like wind up man device.
Yep. There are a couple different curious things around the town, right in your immediate area. First and foremost, there's this building over here, with my thing, so you guys can see this. I'll move Orion's thing to it. So it looks like it's a shop. However, the shop has a bunch of gold. This is a thing that's outside. Uh, when you guys start looking at it closer, though, it's kind of ingenious because it looks like it's like a bunch of gold and gems and treasure and everything. It looks super real. Like this is 100% what it is. And then when you go to like touch it, it's all. These might actually be truly gold coins. You can't tell. They're amazing forgeries, if not. The gems are probably really good cut glass, not exactly, but they're all fused together and stuck and incredibly heavy, so heavy that it would be hard to like just cut this rope and go off with them. But it's meant to get people up to here so that they start grabbing stuff, whatever, and they see. And basically what this is a business that does treasure hunts. They sell treasure maps, treasure hunts, and other things. That's what you notice right away. Grin, this wasn't here when you were here.
Oh,
There's also a small pond in this direction. This is so much nicer, Grin, by the way. I mean, everything you started to notice in the city is just a little bit nicer than when you left. This building here is also new, Grin. The one that I've got my light over, that's all new as well. But the real estate here is also super nice. Like everyone's landscaping is so much nicer. You don't even remember that pond ever being there. You vaguely remember that there was like a really like kind of like large pit in this area that somebody was starting to mine out before you left, but you don't remember water. It's super nice now or whatever. So there's all kinds of nice things going on though. So
no
that's your
more
immediate
graffiti
area.
and burned out wagons.
Yeah. But yeah. The other interesting thing that you notice in your general vicinity too is that there's a bunch of fruit trees that are put up here, and the smell of the fruit, normally you can't smell picked fruit, but whatever this is so strong and so delicious that you guys smell it from here. It's a very sweet berry like smell that's coming from these trees on this side. That's what you notice in your general area, immediate area. Oh, by the way, there is an automaton that is in the process of getting worked on behind your dad's house. Um, probably because it's getting fitted by a door. It looks like that's very much what's happening here. The door hasn't been made yet, and it's parked out
Okay.
next to your parents' house.
I'm going to ask Henri to reach in the bag and take Volo's map.
I was going to say the same.
Yeah. No, yeah, she has been. Once you guys, I meant to mention this anyway, Andre. Once you guys went into town though, there is a highlight of a single item in the map. You're not exactly sure where yet, but it's underground somewhere. Under the town, there is a magic item.
Giant magic sword.
You're not sure. Yeah, you're not sure.
Part of the tip is on. No, but
It's certainly not the sword. You'd be close enough to the sword, like this giant
Mhm.
sword, whatever the hell this thing is. It's not that. You're close enough to it that it would already come off and tell you what the item was and all that stuff. Yeah. Nope, it's far below underground somewhere. But yes, there is a magic item here.
Hopefully the silver mine guys might have a little more insight.
But yeah. Everything okay, Amanda? There's one wheel of cheese in the back room of the house.
Yeah.
That's their bed, okay?
It's funny because they're actually I just deleted a bunch of stuff. That actually was just originally a storeroom. And I just didn't get a chance to put the beds and everything in there. So as I'm going through and doing this, I'm like, oh yeah, that sucks.
That's where the magic happens.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, yeah, I should just put the bed back there. But yeah, that is right. Yeah. That used to be a whole storeroom of like
They
tons
sleep
of
on a wheel of cheese. Don't
Yeah.
judge them.
Hey, just because they like fondue doesn't mean you have to laugh at them for it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Abe will be like, yeah, I think it does.
All right, cool.
Oh,
that
we
was-
can
well-
we can stop here. That's fine. We can stop here and go next time. I feel so bad because I know I know brother wants to play. There is so much shit here, guys, that just keep in mind. You can always go get brother and come back. I mean, if you guys decide to stay here, I did hijack this area because it's Grimm's town and put a bunch of shit in here. Not that you need to go through any of it, but that's why obviously there's a Telspire location as well. You can always just grab brother and come back here. But it's up to everyone.
No, we haven't forgotten. We're getting there. We just had
Yeah.
to stop by, say hi to mom and dad.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah, all of that was overwhelming.
Yeah.
I know. I actually I don't ever cheat this, so I had
I
to
mean
do
that in a good
the
way. I mean that in a
dragon the
good
way
way.
that it's done. But I even feel bad because that's such a fucking railroad for Tyler's character, unfortunately. At the same time, there was one thing if Tyler had truly like remembered, because it's so long ago that I think you had that description, Tyler. That's the only hint that I could have given you is the name of it. You could have just run, I guess, and not had it seen you, but that's it. Yeah, that otherwise that just always goes down the way it goes down.
I mean, I also wasn't
Yeah.
hiding. I was standing 10
Yeah.
feet from it, so it's not like I would
Yeah.
have been hiding in the bushes. I was standing next to Grin when he walked up to us. So, but yeah,
If you don't have the write up anymore, if you go back to your messages, you can see the original write up one. They're awesome. I would read it again. There's other hints in there as well. They're truly awesome. If you can't find
okay.
it, just let me know. But they're very cool things, and they were created by, it's like one of the only dragons that Gygax himself created, and that's why they've got so much written about them. But it's they're
Yeah.
cool dragons.
Oh yeah, I have to bone up on my lore. It's been a second since I saw
They're not
that.
in 5e currently. There's no such thing as Soul Dragon within 5e currently, but fuck that.
Yeah.
But they are very much a second edition, third edition thing. Yeah.
What do steel dragons breathe?
You have to
Isn't
wait
it?
and see.
Yeah.
You have to wait and see.
No,
Yeah,
we won't. We'll never see. We'll
it's
befriend them.
the coolest thing about them,
It's honestly not pretty.
there's only like 7 pieces of art, but the coolest art is literally like when you look at them, it looks like their scales are made out of like basically swords with no hilts, right? Like it's like everything's super sharp. Like they're basically just, it's almost like the Game of Thrones like throne without any of the hilts. Like it's just all like basically sharp edged swords or whatever. They look freaking nasty and menacing.
Friend of mine
Awesome.
just got like a
Yeah.
18-inch statuette of a dragon, basically fitting that description.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, but that's what